Today, we're gonna see. What if nasty Naruto made Raven pregnant? Please subscribe this channel, because definitely I will try my best to provide a valuable content for you all. Also check the description to support the original author for this beautiful creation. 'Twas a calm and peaceful night, the entire Leaf Village lay at peace. All, except the knuckle-headed ninja himself, Naruto. He was covered in sweat, tangled in the blankets, moving in sharp, quick spasms as though he was ill. Indeed he was, but not by any virus. The poor ninja had no love to his life for 18 years, and now he subconsciously yearned it. Each night, he would dream of a young maiden, but every morning he would wake, and have no clue as to who it was. He knew her, Naruto could tell that much, but the real question that killed him was whom. The nightmares always left him in a depressed and angry mood, but he always had something up his sleeve that could make him happy so his friends couldn't see him hurt. Strangely enough, it wasn't ramen. He always liked to take a nice hot shower using a light-smelling lavender shampoo and lotion. Afterwards, he'd use his leaf cologne Sakura had shown him how to make so he could smell just like his father, as Grandma Tsunade told him. Then, Naruto would put on his new clothes he'd bought since his old pair had been ripped in training. He now wore a blue t-shirt saying, "A fight for peace, a fight for understanding," and faded black jeans, since it was still spring. Yet this morning was different. He'd spilled his ramen on his shirt, so he had to settle for his plain orange one, then found he was out of his cologne, so now he smelled purely of lavender, which wasn't so bad, but ever since Sasuke came back to the village he'd use every chance he'd gotten to tease the poor blonde ninja, and this would be one of them. What was worse was that his old friend Hinata had been avoiding him for 2 years, and this time he'd caught a glimpse of her using her Kekkei Genkai so she could avoid him completely. "Flower boy. What's wrong?" Sasuke asked, still joking about his lavender scent. "It's nothing, just having a bad day I guess," Naruto scratched his head. "I know my old teammate well enough to know that it's more than a bad day for you. You usually pick yourself back up again if something bad happened, but now you're just plain moping. So tell me," Sasuke said sitting down next to Naruto on the hill looking down upon the village. Naruto explained to Sasuke, not caring that his friend didn't look interested. He didn't respond for a while, so Naruto assumed his friend didn't care about his problems and was just staring blankly at the clouds. This assumption made Naruto jump when Sasuke finally spoke. "Crap, that does sound like a bad day. But if you've been feeling this way for a while, why haven't you told us? Sakura and I can help you. She can help you find some more attractive clothes to wear, and I can help you with the way you talk and the way you act," he said. "How exactly is Thast going to help me?" Naruto asked, looking at his friend in a confused manner. "Simple, you need someone to help you out, like I have Sakura. You know I need someone because I will be going blind because of these dang Mangekyo eyes, and you need someone for your emotions, and to keep the fox in check," Sasuke reasoned. "Is that the only reason you married Sakura? So you can have someone be your seeing eye dog?" Naruto asked, heating up. "No, she knew me well enough, and accepted me when no one else did a year ago. I'd loved her, and knew she would be the one to stay by my side when I could no longer see, and no longer be a ninja," he said solemnly. "Naruto, you're repressing the fact that you're hurting inside. Everyone else got married, Sakura and I, Neji and Tenten, Kiba and, well, I haven't learned her name yet, Shino and some other chick he'd met on a mission. Shikamaru and Tamari, Ino and Choji. Even Konohamaru's dating. Look, you want someone to love you, not like Sakura and I, as comrades, but as a mate, if you catch what I mean," Sasuke muttered. "Oh yeah. That would explain my dream. Now that I know what it means, I can..." Suddenly a flashback hit Naruto in the face, splitting his head in two. Pain stood above Naruto, chakra receivers all over his body. Naruto was as good as dead at the moment, he'd failed. "I've avoided in vital spots, kept them shallow," Pain said, "but you will no longer be able to move on your own." "Come on lad," Naruto heard Ma say. "No, you mustn't listen to him. You're the child of prophecy. The savior of this world. You are not allowed to lose. Jiraiya and Pa risked their lives for you, believing in you. If you give up I won't forgive you." Suddenly Ma was flying backwards, knocking her out cold. Pain used his Rinnegan to move her. With his arm outstretched, he said, "Loud-mouthed frog." "Hey!" Naruto yelled. Pain turned to him. "It's time we were on our way," he said, then turned his hand to Naruto to use his Rinnegan on him. Suddenly from behind Pain. Naruto saw Hinata soaring towards them. From the shocked look on Naruto's face, Pain could tell something was behind him. He glanced back, seeing the woman poised to hit him, and dodged. She made a large crater where he was previously standing. Reinforcements, Pain asked. Hinata turned glaring at him and said, I won't let you hurt Naruto. Why did you come here? Run. You can't win, Naruto shouted to her. I know, she said, receiving a shocked look from Naruto, I'm just being selfish. What are you talking about? Why expose yourself to this? He shouted, fearing for her to die in his battle. Hinata did not answer for a second. Finally she said, I'm here because I want to be. Again she got a shocked look from him. I used to be such a crybaby, always giving up before even starting. I took the wrong path so many times, but you helped me find my way and take the correct path, Naruto. Naruto just stared at her, taking in what she was saying. I always chased after you, wanting to catch up, wanting to walk together with you forever. I want to be at your side, always. You changed me, Naruto. Your smiling face saved me. And that's why I'm not afraid to die, defending you. Pain glared at the two, unamused. Because, Naruto. Naruto, wake up. Naruto woke suddenly, staring up at a white ceiling. Forgotten. I do not own Naruto in any was shape or form. What I do own will be ANOUNCE under this list right here. 1. The plot minus the previous flashback that was used from the actual manga owned by MISASHI. Kishimoto. The real owner of Naruto. Chapter 2 Inches Naruto. Naruto, wake up. Naruto awoke to bright lights above him, and a splitting headache. He glanced to his left, and saw both Sasuke and Sakura staring at him with concerned eyes. What happened to me? Naruto grunted, trying to get up unsuccessfully due to Sakura's hand holding him down. He felt no pain except for the one deep in his skull. Sasuke said that you blanked 1 second and blacked out. Reading in Pain. From what I've been taught, you must have had a very bad flashback. Think carefully, and tell us what you remembered. Was it from the fight with Pain? Sakura asked soothingly. Naruto nodded slowly and gulped. Can you tell us what it was about? Sasuke blushed and nodded. Then he began explaining what he remembered, all the way up to Hinata's unfinished sentence. I dunno. Perhaps you should go talk to Hinata and ask her about it. Maybe that'll help you unlock some questions about your lost memory, Sasuke said, giving Naruto the idea to finally figure out why she was avoiding him. True, she somewhat did that when they were younger, but this time, it just felt cruel, and it seemed like she hated him. I'm off, guys. I have some business to handle. See y'all later. Naruto shrugged on his jacket that was hanging on the hanger of his bedroom door, the room he now noticed he was in. Hinata was resting under a tree. What with constantly using the Byakugan, it left her exhausted. She was afraid of Naruto now. Partly because of what he'd changed into, partly because she was afraid he would hate her for loving him, and that their friendship would be totally ruined with an awkward moment of rejection. That fear caused her to jump when Naruto's head popped up in front to her face, for he was hiding in that very tree she was resting under. We need to talk, he said gruffly, about the battle with Pain and what happened. Here it comes. I knew he'd catch me eventually, and that he's gonna reject me here and now, Hinata thought grimly. You've been avoiding me ever since the invasion 2 years ago, why? He asked her, pain searing his eyes. Why, you don't know? She asked, fear burning hers. No, is it because of the fox? He asked, worrying that she too judged him for the burden he carried. No, why you truly don't know? She asked, her hopes up that he didn't despise her love. Well, you see, I kinda lost my memories of the battle, but I did remember one thing. It was when you jumped up to save me when Pain had me beat. I was wondering if, by telling me the story of what happened, since you were there with me, if you could help me remember what happened that day. Naruto rubbed his head, a slight blush on his cheeks. He doesn't remember what happened. Then he don't remember. Wait. He said that he remembered me, so that means Hinata muttered in her head. Hinata? You okay? You're spocking out on me? Naruto snapped his fingers in front of the shy Hyuga girl, afraid she would faint like the so many times before. So, why you're not mad at me, and okay with what I said? she asked. Huh? What did you say? Naruto asked, suspecting she commented on the fox inside her. It's nothing, I'll tell you later, I have to go. Meet you at the training field tomorrow at 8. Bye. The Hyuga shouted, running away blushing madly, leaving a stunned Naruto staring after her. Why? Why do I feel so strange about this? She and I could hang out all the time. True, she was always timid, but it was nice. We are just friends. So why is my heart beating so fast? Naruto his head in confusion, trying to beat sense into it. Always the clueless one? A voice sounded behind him. Naruto spun around quickly in defense, only to see it was Shikamaru, his old buddy. Hey Shikamaru. You heard all that, didn't you? He asked, embarrassed. Yeah bud, I did. And I think Hinata will tell you everything, then you might figure out why you're feeling that way. And if she doesn't, perhaps reading a few books at this new store in town, you may just figure out that way, Shikamaru said, assuming his spot where Hinata was resting moments before. Thanks, I think? Naruto muttered and ran off. Oh no. Naruto doesn't know what I said to him. Will I be able to face up to him again? Should I say it? Or should I let it be? No. Naruto will just find someone else, and I'll be left with no one, or just an arranged marriage from father. No, I'll tell him, and take what he says. Hinata was alone in her room, thinking about what happened earlier. Naruto didn't remember, and she'd tell him, if she didn't faint first. She told Ino, who probably told all the other girls in the village, who told their husbands and boyfriends, and fiancés. So either way, he would find out. It was better to tell him herself, that way she wouldn't look afraid to ask him. Those relationships always fail. Hinata. You coming down for dinner? A familiar voice asked from behind her door. Yeah Hanabi. Be there in a sec. Oh no. I still look like a mess. I need to fix myself up for dinner. Suddenly Hinata started fussing around her room looking for more formal clothes and a washcloth in the bathroom to wipe the dirt off her hands, legs, and feet. Preparation. I do not own Naruto, for that belongs to Misashi Kishimoto, the real creator of Naruto, and owns all Naruto-related items. All I own is 1. The plot 2. Charicters. Tammy, Kiba's girl. And Chouhime, Shino's girl. Enjoy. Chapter 3. Naruto stood in amazement as he saw this beautiful indigo-haired woman walk slowly towards him in a blizzard, ignoring the numbness he felt all over. Upon her sight, his body warmed up, unfreezing him from a place he could only say is his heart. This woman was utterly beautiful, and his mind kept telling him she was true love. Then as soon as she appeared, she vanished. Naruto, hoping to find out who she was left in the painful dark and cold again. But what hurt more than that cold was loneliness. He felt torn apart since he did not know her, so again he woke in a stick sweat. Again, Naruto went through his routine of getting washed up and putting on his favorite clothes. Yet for some reason or other, he just felt as bad as he had when he was a child, and had not known about the fox within him. Today, he would lay in bed, or just stay at the hot spring, which he wished he had money for. Once Grandma Tsunade sent him a request for a mission, he could use it to treat himself, for the rest of his money went to food, mainly ramen and milk and bills. Yet, he had promised, so to speak, that he would meet Hinata at 8 at the training field. In other words, he needed to be there, not in bed like a slob. Naruto looked at his clock. It was noon, much later than he usually slept. So, he would eat, meet up with Sakura to have his mental checkup, the one he needed weekly, and get cleaned up to talk to Hinata. 2 hours later. Naruto, your PhCC is perfectly well, no damage as usual. So, she added with an evil grin, Ino tells me that you met up with Shikamaru, and you told him about a little date you have with Hinata tonight. Where you talkin' her? Any place nice? Just to the training fail. Hey. Wait. It's not like that, Sakura. She was there when I fought Pain, so I thought she would help me out by telling me what happened. Naruto shouted panically for some reason, pulse racing, blood boiling. Okay. But I warned you, people will be talking, hero of village secretly meets heiress of Hyuga household. I can see that as the new headlines in the Leaf magazine. So you better dish what happens tonight, or else, Sakura threatened. Or what? He challenged. or I'll ruin your reputation, and make it look as though you have it in for the Hyuga fortune, something along those lines. I won't be that harsh, but still, Sakura grinned happy with her new blackmail. Okay fine, but I'm telling you, it'll be boring. Naruto tried to end her curiosity unsuccessfully. And just to be sure you tell me everything, I'm sending Ino to spy on you too. So where were you to having your date again? The training field? She smiled evilly. Yeah. And it's not a date, Naruto shouted, storming out of the hospital. Hinata was prancing around her room looking for something casual, but beautiful to wear for when she met up with Naruto in an hour. She's found a nice pair of blue jeans, but a shirt was even more difficult. Hinata was so concerned in finding a good shirt, she didn't notice Hanabi come in, and accidentally knocked her over into the stack of clothes on her bed, toppling them in top of the poor unsuspecting younger sister. Sorry Hanabi. Oh. That's perfect. Hinata shouted, embarrassed by her mistake, which she forgot when she saw the pink t-shirt with the leaf symbol hanging on Hanabi's confused face. What's the rush, sis? Hanabi asked. I'm meeting up with Naruto in an hour to talk to him. He needs help with the incident. He can't remember anything that happened. So he asked me to tell him the story, scenes that I was there. Hinata answered, bootling about the room grabbing stuff for a quick shower. So you gonna tell him about, your feelings? Hanabi wondered. Yes, mind as well, shouldn't let that bother me or get between us. It's just a stupid feeling, said Hinata, halfway out the door. But they aren't stupid to you, Hanabi muttered, making Hinata stop mid-stride. Man, you sure have changed since the incident. I could say something like that, and you'd faint in an instant. Now, you rarely stutter, and you only faint for a good reason. I wish I could be able to change like that. I envy you, Hanabi said, hugging her knees on her sister's bed. Hanabi, you are far better than I. Father hates me, and sees you as the true heir to this household. You have more than I, for it should be me, who envies you. Hinata sat staring into the eyes of her sister, reassuringly. Now, I have to get ready. Naruto will be waiting for me in half an hour. I'll come hang with you later. With that, Hinata got up, and went off to the bathroom for her shower. The meeting. I do not own Naruto. All of which in here discluding the plot and OCs Choheim and Tammy, belong to Misashi Kishimoto. Chapter 4. Naruto waited in silence. The sun was quickly sinking below the tree line of the training field, and no sign of Hinata. Did she just give up and abandon him? Or was this just some ruse to avoid him or something? Either way, she wasn't here. Might as well leave. She probably won't show up, and I don't need to wait with a broken heart. Wait, did he just think what he thought he thanked? Did he just think that this caused his heart to break? Sure, she ditched him, but there was probably a reason. A good one at that. Hinata doesn't hide when she says something, she means it. But for her to cause him a heartbreak, he'd probably see her tomorrow, not too long to wait. He was probably just upset that she couldn't tell him the story. Yeah, that was it. Suddenly, through the trees, someone silently approached. They had so much grace and beauty to their step, that they almost danced, almost glided towards him. Suddenly the graceful person, who looked as though God sent them from above, stepped into a patch of light from the setting sun, which was nearly gone. Sorry I'm late. I had a few errands to run for my father, Hinata spoke, her voice a mix of honey and bells. Naruto stood in amazement at this angelic girl, his heart racing. He couldn't speak. "En Naruto?" Hinata whispered, fearing he wasn't him. Huh? What? Oh, Hinata. Sorry for staring, Naruto muttered, embarrassed, rubbing his head. The comment made Hinata blush, to her dismay. But with the sun now below the horizon, and there only light some fireflies, no one but her knew. So, what do you want to know, Naruto? Hinata asked shyly, taking a place next to him. Well, let's see, Naruto said, not taking his eyes off her. Oh, I know. When you showed up, Naruto whispered. Hinata told him of how Pain had him trapped on the ground, and how she came up in an attempt to hit Pain while his guard was down. Then she told him how he tried to have her leave, and her speech. Naruto, I was trying to tell you, that I. Hinata tried to say. I remember everything you've said so far, I just don't remember what you said, your last sentence. And I feel like I really want to know, like it's important, he muttered. A firefly landed on his nose, lighting up his face. Promise, please, promise me, that what I tell you now, won't change your friendship. Please Naruto? Hinata asked, afraid he would be mad. Yes. I promise, Naruto whispered. He knew she'd said something about the fox, but why did it hurt so much now? He was far used to being called the fox, but why did it hurt so much more with her? It didn't matter, for she felt bad about it, and still wanted to be friends with him. I confessed my feelings about you, how I felt, everything, in one word. Hinata paused, causing tension to rise between them. What do you feel? Naruto wondered, looking at his feet, not noticing their hand intertwine. I feel that, well. Huff, Naruto, I love you, and I always have. Hinata started looking at him in the eyes, his wonderful, blue, amazed and amazing eyes. I loved you ever since we both went into the academy, so please, don't hate me for this. I just needed to let it out. Hinata. Suddenly everything went black, for Naruto. Hinata stood there, staring at her love, wreathing in pain. All she could do was shout his name, and see Ino pop out of the bushes shouting, carry him to the hospital. I'll announce that he needs help there. Be careful, he's pretty heavy. Hinata then saw Ino disappear into the bushes, giving her the cue to hurry. She picked up Naruto, and placed him on her back. She rushed him through the trees as fast as she could, using her Byakugan to see the way. There, 2 kilometers away, was the first houses. If she could reach there, then Naruto would be all right. She listened with her heart lurching to the sound of him moaning in pain. Then she heard him gurgle, almost as if he was trying to say something, but failing to form the word properly. He kept repeating it, making it more and more intelligible. Hinata looked back, seeing the Bloonday ninja was sweating, still unconscious, talking in his sleep. Finally, she was able to hear what he was saying. Hinata. Love. Pain. Pain. He growled over and over. Soon they were both only a few hundred feet from the hospital. Now Naruto would say was Hinata, and love. She blushed slightly, but she knew this wasn't the time. She had to get Naruto to Sakura, and get home too. Now that she thought about it, father would be so displeased. She was out very late. True, she was 18, but until she was married, he was her superior. Hinata was at the hospital entrance now. She needed to slow down and stay calm as she placed him onto the stretcher. Ino, Sakura, and other nurses were around. They soon whisked him into the emergency room. Sakura assured her that he was fine, and was just having a memorial nightmare, and would soon wake, but she still was worried. She was all alone, and for the first time, in over a year, she cried silently. Oh my God, what have I done to him? Dreams I do not own Naruto, for that belongs to Masashi Kishimoto. All I own is one. The plot 2, OCs Chohinmi and Tammy. P.S. I am wishing to have more comments so as I can have more ideas as to what to do with the story. I have stuff planned, but the more resources I have, the better it will be. Chapter 5. Naruto was a little kid again, the pain of loneliness searing his heart yet again. He was sitting on his swing, staring down at his hands, occasionally glancing at the academy that failed him every year that he'd been there. Naruto had thought about giving up, long ago, but his stubborn determination kept him in check. Suddenly he heard people talking about him over to his right. It was the older brothers and sisters of his classmates, the ones who passed, that is. See him, he's the only one who didn't graduate, one whispered. Hey, serves him right, especially since he's, the other trailed. Don't go there, he's not worth it. Man, why did they even let him live? They should have killed him long ago. Just think of what monstrous things he could do to the village, the last one said coolly, walking away. Naruto just sat there and cried. He didn't know why everyone hated him. He couldn't do anything but cry. Not move or anything. He was that broken. Suddenly, he saw one head poking out of the crowd, looking at him. But in their eyes wasn't in hatred, it was his longing. He couldn't see who it was at first, like his other dreams. When he went to go have another look, the scene changed. Ubruptly. He was in the forest. All of his friends were there, looking at him smiling. He stared at them in wonder, for they all were glowing. But he soon realized that it was the setting sun that lit them up. He looked around in a daze, noticing that he was at the training field. When he glanced back at his friends, they weren't there. Rather, they were walking away from him, laughing, and having fun. Wait for me, he shouted, laughing too. But soon, that laughter turned to wails as he couldn't keep up with them. Always, they were a few feet from reach. Soon he saw a familiar face glance back. Guys, he's following us, Sakura said. Everyone laughed and ran away saying, let's see the freak catch us now. Soon Naruto couldn't see them, and he sat down panting. What the heck is up with them? Naruto asked, about to cry about their betrayal. He glanced up at where they used to be, and saw a figure moving gracefully towards him. It was the woman from his dreams. Hey, you're probably gonna disappear again, like you have been ever since I dreamed PT of you. Why are my hopes up if I'll never get to see you? Naruto muttered mostly to himself. No, actually. I'm revealing myself. The figure spoke in the angelic voice like crinkling bells he'd heard moments before. By talking to your friend you realized who you love, the voice replied. Really? Who? I don't understand, tell me, Naruto cried. I can't tell you, the voice said, standing in a patch of sunlight. Wearing a deep hooded cloak. Naruto looked at them in dismay, for his hopes of love were foiled yet again. The cloaked figure laughed a most wonderful, light, blissful laugh. Then the figure places silky hands upon the cowl of her cloak saying, but I can show you. She removed the cowl to show Naruto the smiling warm face of Hinata, the shy young kunoichi that seemed to redden every time he so much as looked at. Now she watched him with amused eyes as he stared at her, stunned by her beauty, and amazed by the realization that he did in fact love her. Once she placed the hood on her head, the figure said, now that you see, you are in love with her. You can chase her, all around the world. Find her. Catch her. Never let her go. You have much to give her, for you see, as long as you have been a ninja, and far before, she has loved you. She loved you when no one else did. And when you finally had those people so dear to you, and had a shot with Sakura that you turned down, Hinata was there, waiting for you. So, talk to her, tell her you love her, and spend the rest of your life with her. Don't worry, I will. That's a promise, Naruto shouted with a fist in the air. At that, the figure smiled, and faded away with the rest of the scene. Naruto was starting to wake up. Internally, externally, and naturally I do not own Naruto. That belongs to Misashi Kishimoto. All I own is the plot, and my OCs. Chapter 6. Hinata was sitting at home, worrying about Naruto. He was so sick, and in so much pain, and it was all her fault. She shouldn't have told him. He's obviously upset, and she would just cause him even more pain. She might as well give up on the fact anyway. Kiba was wrong. Shino was wrong. Even Kurenai-sensei was wrong. Naruto wouldn't like her, not one bit. He probably likes someone else anyway. Pretty soon, she began crying, eventually getting angrier and angrier at herself for crying. She had been crying for hours until she finally heard something that made her grow silent. Hinata. Why are you crying? It's not like you. Anymore, that is. A throaty voice sounded behind her. Eyes still streaming, she looked up to see her father, expecting a cold stare, but finding warmth and concern instead. I see. No wonder you are crying. Heartbreak is a painful thing, and a difficult wound to mend. But in the long run, it is good that you did not go with that boy. He is too dangerous, and I could not allow such a thing to happen to my eldest daughter. Plus the look of disgrace would come upon this family. Think of what you could have done. Hinata stared at father in disbelief. Just like your old man once did. But then I met your mother, and the other woman met the fourth. So you see, it worked out well. You may fall deeply in love, my girl, but you can always find a greater one in those of a higher standard. Hinata stared at her father, afraid to speak, afraid she would be silenced by that cold stare lurking in her father's eyes, waiting to lash out and pounce on her if she contradicted him. Soon he excused himself to his studies, leaving Hinata to stare at her feet, her entire body numb. She couldn't move or think, her heart was shattered. There was a knock at the door, but she was too numb and mangled to notice, or even care, which left Hanabi to answer it. Only at the sound of her name, and the message her sister had given her, did she stir. Hanabi stood in front of her sister, then said in a dull voice, "Someone is here to see you. They must be a friend of yours. He's waiting in the other room." Hinata jumped up, putting on a mask of happiness, but worry and pain still shone slightly. "Hello." A cheery, smiling Sai said. He'd learned the feeling of happiness well over these past few years, and that seemed to be the mood he always was in. Hi Sai. What brings you here? Hinata asked casually. It's about Naruto, Sai said, noticing the wince of pain on her face. What did he have to say? Did he send you here to tell me? Hinata asked, a line of fear trekking across her face. He says he doesn't know what he's supposed to do, but he wants to talk to you soon. Tomorrow morning if possible. But there is something more. He's in a lot of pain now, and I think it's like the pain he feels for Sasuke and Sakura, but much, much worse. But now, I understand what this pain may be. And maybe, this pain is good, in a way. But he says he needs to see you tomorrow, and he wants you to not worry, he is well. I must be going. I'm just rambling. With that, Sai disappeared with a smile on his face, leaving Hinata in a daze. Which lead to darkness. She fainted, yet again. Naruto was staring into a white light once again. He knew what he had to do, and he needed to fast. Sai and Sakura both told him it was late, but he just couldn't wait. He tried to visit her, but then Sai offered to go in his place, leaving him with Sakura who kept him busy at the hospital. She even offered to go get him the biggest, best, and most luxurious of all ramen bowls at Ichiraku, but he turned it down. He wasn't in the mood for food, especially ramen, today. Wasn't a good day. He felt sure that his plan would go well, but something in his gut told him something was up. Naruto, cheer up, whatever happened is in the past now. Nothing in that fight matters now. Hinata doesn't feel that way towards you anymore. She must be afraid of the Kyuubi. That's why he's upset. Better say what I can, Sakura said. Suddenly Naruto looked as if he was about to go back into that coma-like state he tended to go in. I hope not, I want her to feel the same way, he said, looking glum, but with a sly smirk. Naruto, don't degrade yourself, she doesn't mean it, Sakura said, failing again to cheer him. She told me today, told me what she felt about me, and I feel the same about her, he admitted. I don't get it, she said she hated you for the Kyuubi, right? Does that mean you hate her? I don't get it, Sakura shouted, finally giving up her attempts. What? You think that's what she said? Ha 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 ha. No. She said she loved me, and tomorrow morning, I'm gonna tell her I love her, Naruto burst out laughing. Really? Gee, sorry for what I said earlier, I thought it was the other way around. Anyway, it's late, so you should go home, and I need to cook dinner. See ya later, loverboy. Sakura teased. Ha ha. See ya later. With that, Naruto strode off into the night, hands behind his head in that merry old fashion he once did many years ago. Hinata couldn't sleep, too afraid of what Naruto had to say. So, she decided to walk around a little outside. True, it was dark. So dark the untrained eye could not be able to see. But since Hinata was both a ninja and a holder of the Byakugan, she could see as well as one in daylight. She had no idea of where she was going until she stopped by a familiar house. She peered inside, and saw Naruto trying to relax. He looked happy, yet very edgy. Hinata looked up to the sky, as if asking for answers, but saw stormy clouds above. They looked menacing, and as if they'd try to strike the entire world down. No doubt some houses would be crushed by trees, or struck by lightning. She could try to get home, but even if she started in that split second, she would not get home. Suddenly the wind picked up. Clasp. Thunder crashed suddenly following the flash of lightning that startled Naruto right out of his chair. The flash made it seem as though daylight had come for a few brief seconds. Then the rain came, pouring down, heavily, from what he could hear. Clas. Thwomp. Naruto had a cry from outside. Quickly he slung on his coat and burst out the door just in time to see a figure lying on the ground next to the only tree near his house, now charred and on its side. The person was unconscious, if not dead. Bonds grow. I do not own Naruto. Naruto belongs to Misashi Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto. I merely made the plot and a few OCs. I am sorry for the misspellings. I do not own any writing program that has spell check. Chapter 7 Naruto caught a glimpse of the figure lying on the ground when another flash of lightning struck a house a few blocks down. Luckily for the residents, it didn't ignite, just made a loud noise. But he saw that the figure was none other than the poor Hyuga girl he'd fallen head over heels for. He gasped in terror. She couldn't be struck down this easily. Was she hit in the head? No, she was just winded. She looked at him wheezing terribly. She couldn't even speak to him, knowing she couldn't explain herself. He looked at her glumly, and her fear of him not wanting her came back. Then something took her by surprise. He picked her up and smiled. Don't worry, Hinata. I'll get you someplace warm. Soaking wet were the both. They went into Naruto's dry and warm house, Hinata in his arms. He sat her down on his chair and got her a nice warm blanket and some nice clothes that used to be his. He let her excuse herself to the bathroom to change, and she put her soaked clothes in the hamper next to his shower. You know, Hinata, he said once she seated herself on the foot of his bed, which was surprisingly in his living room. I've been wanting to talk to you. Hey, I'm sure Sai has told you. But I wish it could have been a better meeting. I agree. I wish that tree hadn't landed on me. I got out easily, but it knocked the breath out of me, Hinata gradually said. But I wanted to talk to you about earlier today. Naruto glanced at his clock. Make that earlier yesterday. What is it, Naruto? She asked, even though she knew it was about her feelings. She knew he felt differently, and he might possibly cast her out into that storm. She had a little stone in her heart, a wound about to open. You see, when I was, well, unconscious, I started thinking about what you said, and what's happened between us. It just clicked after a while, my feelings for you, he said finally. Here it comes. The big break. Hinata thought glumly. I found that I've fallen for you too. I was hoping you and I could go out, and with Sasuke quitting the team, I was thinking you and I could be on the same team. So, what do you say? He blurted, stunning her. Hat. Why you do? And since when is Sasuke quitting? She stammered. A crash of thunder nearly drowned her list of questions. Naruto rubbed his head. Well, he told me he noticed his sight faltering a few days ago, and decided to leave so he wouldn't be in danger or cause any danger since he'll lose his vision soon. Oh, was all she could reply. He loved her too. But then there was father. Maybe, just maybe she could love him too without father knowing. But that would be very hard. But then an idea struck her. Father wouldn't be mad if she went on missions, right? Hinata, what do you say? Naruto snapped her back. Oh, sure, we can go out. But we have to not tell my father, he doesn't like you much, you see. But I have an idea. If I tell him I'm going on a mission, we can go out of the village and hang out then. And if we are on the same team, I can get Kurenai-sensei to say she thought it would be best for your team, something along those lines, anyway. But we need to find a way to go around him, if he asks about the missions, she said suddenly. Huh? Oh, yeah. I can handle that, Crash. But I'm not permitting you to go home until this storm ends. So you'll just have to stay here. You can tell him you stayed at a friend's house when he asks tomorrow, Naruto whispered, spooked by the fact that his lights went out. Right, but where are we sleeping? Hinata asked. I only have one bed, but you can take it. I usually sleep in my chair anyway, he said, grabbing a fresh blanket from a drawer under his bed and let Hinata wrap herself in it to replace the damp one that he put next to the door. Well, now that everything is settled, I'll let you go to sleep now. Good night, Hinata, Naruto said, even though he knew that as soon as he had hit the pillow a second ago, she was out. A favor, all of you know now of what I say, so this will be the last time I say it. I do not own Naruto, just the plot. Naruto belongs to Misashi Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto. Chapter 8 Hinata awoke suddenly, only hours after she'd fallen asleep. She didn't know where she was, until she saw Naruto asleep in his chair. She had had a nightmare about her father, and everything they were about to do, fail. She decided to grab a glass of water, since she could see the cupboard doors wide open in his kitchen across the room from them. It was pitch black, but she could make it there without a problem. After she got a glass, she went to put it on the table beside the bed. Suddenly Naruto jerked awake in a small cry of shock, which startled Hinata and made her trip over the chair, spilling her water all over him and his chair. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, she apologized. "'S alright. I spilled some ramen on my just now, so that helped a little. I grabbed some before I went to bed, and I must have knocked it over onto me, he laughed. Oh, I'm still very sorry though, she said. Nah, I'm just glad I didn't wake you, he joked. You were dead as a doornail. Hinata laughed with him. It was true, she had fallen asleep very quickly. Once Naruto changed, they decided to sit on the bed and tell stories about some of their favorite missions, tales of what happened with their friends, and many more stories they'd heard as children. Soon though, they grew tired and fell asleep. There was a knock at the door, but neither Naruto or Hinata woke to answer. So, since they were such good friends, they came in anyway. It was Sakura, telling him that he needed to report to Tsunade, but stopped as soon as she'd entered. Naruto and Hinata were curled up together asleep in the corner of the bed, the wall as their support. How long has this been going on? Naruto told me he was going to tell her today that he loved her. Why are they curled up together now, she thought, fuming. Then she grabbed Naruto by the ear and dragged him out of the room, waking and stunning both. What the heck are you doing? What have you kept from me? You told me you would tell her later today, you would talk to her, then I find you two snuggling. What the heck? Sakura screamed at him. Huh? We were? He asked confused. Well, what do you call that? Friendly hugs? She cried. Oh, I remember, we were sitting together telling stories, and we must have fallen asleep. Oh, and don't tell anyone that she and I are, well, going out. Her father doesn't favor me, and it could get really ugly, he stammered, leaving Sakura stunned herself. Then he whipped inside to tell Hinata he had to go talk to Grandma Tsunade, and took off through his window to the Hokage's mansion. I see. Everything is well. You are perfectly healthy, and all movements in your blood and that place is in great shape, Tsunade reported. Now is there anything you want to ask me? Well, it's not about my physical, but I really need a favor, Naruto muttered. It depends, Tsunade said, folding her arms. What is it first? You see, I need you to say that Hinata and I are on missions every once in a while so her father doesn't know what's really going on, he explained. And, what is going on? I need to know first, you know, she lectured. We are dating, and her father doesn't quite care for me. Naruto rubbed the back of his head, and since Sasuke will be out of commission, so to speak, I wanted to see if we could be on the Dame team. That's a big favor. What do you intend to give in return? Tsunade liked playing this game with him. She was happy to help him out, but it was amusing to see what he'd come up with. I have an entire box full of coupons for various shops around here. I've been saving them up for almost 10 years now. They never expire and should equal up to this. Oh, and don't worry, most of the stuff those coupons get I don't like anymore, but I'm pretty sure you might like a lot of them, Naruto reasoned. Yes, that would do. But, about you dating Hinata? Tsunade paused, enjoying his look of humiliation and dread. Tell me more about it. So, Hinata, what's going on between you and Naruto? I saw you at his house this morning. Why were you there? Sakura tormented. You know the Saint Storm last night? Well, I got caught in it, and wound up in front of H's house. Then, H's tree, landed on me, and got me winded. Then he took me into his house to dry out, until the storm ended. YCHD didn't, so, I ended up staying there. But, my father mustn't know, or he'll be really upset. I need someone to say I was at their house, she explained slowly. Oh, so, why were you two snuggled up together last night, Sakura teased. Well, Hinata blushed. Sakura just laughed, knowing she caught the Hyuga girl. Don't worry, your guy's secret is safe with me. Now, let's go get your clothes to Kano Clothes, the new DRT cleaners. That way you can give those clothes back to Naruto. Sakura ran ahead, getting a better start than Hinata, both smiling at the bond they'd just made, stronger. The Statue and the Blind Old Man Chapter 9. It had been a cute half a year of secret love between the two ninja, but now they needed to go on a mission that threatened to break their relationship. The last few missions Naruto and his peers went on, failed. Now, the small group of Naruto, Hinata, and Ino needed to complete this mission, otherwise Lady Tsunade would inform Hinata's father about the couple. So, your guy's relationship is on the line? That's both sad and juicy. Just like a romance novel. Maybe you should write about this, Naruto. Ino exclaimed, making the couple feel embarrassed they said anything. They were to guard a precious statue was that of a human heart, split in two, but still together, and one smaller human heart carved into one of the halves. There was writing on it, but it was too worn to read. There had been many break-ins lately, each getting closer and closer to it. Last time, the Ives made it into the statue's room itself. Right, but I think we should be focusing on the mission. There's a pamphlet thing over there. Let's read up on this thing so we get an idea of what we're guarding, Naruto said, picking up the pamphlet nearest him. What's it say, Naruto? Hinata wondered. It says that the item dates back many years ago, well before the time of ninja and their villages. Then there's some prophecy written here. Hey, let me see, this sounds good. Ino ripped it out of Naruto's hands, looking hungrily at the message. It says, when two parts of one soul touch the statue, forever bonded the two will be. One new soul will reside within the woman of the other half. Huh, wonder what that means? Ino read. Naruto shrugged. I dunno, but let's guard the... Suddenly the alarms went off. Someone had entered the building. Ino, go check it out. Hinata, you stay here and tell us where he is, Naruto ordered. What? Why me? Ino whispered. Because you'll be the best at holding him off. Hinata can see where he is and prepare to protect this statue. I'll be your backup if you get hurt. But right now, it's best to have two people guard this. Naruto pointed to the strange statue behind him. Wouldn't it be better to have Hinata go out since she's able to see him? Ino countered. Look, I already made a plan, and I'm the leader of this mission, remember? Naruto rounded. Alright, fine, but you owe me, Ino glared at him. I got enough money to pay you, but if it's going headfirst into a fight, that's right up my alley, so don't expect that to be disappointing, Naruto teased back. He's only at the entrance heading left, not too far away. I think you can surprise him by coming at him from the hallway parallel to this one. Hinata informed, just smiled and took off, pressing a button near the exit to stop the siren. Byakugan, Naruto, he's moving at a slow pace, really slow, heading in this direction, Hinata whispered, keeping trained eyes on the intruder. Naruto nodded. Good, you think Ino can handle it? Maybe, he doesn't seem too tough, Hinata answered. Right. Say, something's been bugging me. Naruto changed the subject, not taking his eyes off the entrance. Why does the prophecy speak of a new soul? I understand the first part surprisingly. It's talking about soulmates. But the last part gets me. I don't know. I guess we could ask someone, or read about it. Either way, we could try to find out, Hinata whispered back, still eyeing the man who was now just blundering about. Hang on, Ino's getting close, Hinata whispered quickly, cutting off what Naruto was about to say. I should probably get ready to help Ino out if this guy's really actually strong. I'll be back if it's not that good of a fight. Naruto smiled. Hinata smiled back, telling him what way would be best for him to take. Soon after he left to help Ino. Hinata just sat there watching the man with her Byakugan, which was soon fading. She had used up too much chakra, soon she couldn't see him at all. Hinata just sighed and let her thoughts wander to the statue. What was it that made her feel so strange around it, and why was there a tugging sensation in her gut, telling her that this thing had some weird powers? It's probably just the fact that I'm here alone, she thought. Whatever it was, that tugging did not stop at all. Ino noticed someone was behind her, coming up fast. She silently slipped out a kunai and tossed it at the unknown person. Suddenly she heard a shriek that was very familiar. Arg! Ino, what was that for? She heard Naruto shout. Wah! Naruto! What are you doing? I thought you were defending the statue with your girlfriend? She teased. I was, but then I thought I'd help you so that there was less of a chance that this guy could get by, Naruto said, ignoring the joke. You don't think I can handle it? She said, taken aback. I do, it's just that I think we can take this guy faster if it's the both of us. Sound good? He asked. Fine, let's get him and end this mission. It's almost opening time anyway. With Tat, the two sped around the corner and into an elderly man. You, what do you want? Naruto shouted, pointing at the man. Oh, a young boy. What are you doing at the brewery? Are you even old enough to drink? The old man blubbered, waving a cane in Naruto's face, causing him to back away so as no to get hit. Wah? Old man, what are you talking about? Ino asked. I'm in the brewery, right? And that siren meant I was the 100th visitor tonight, right? The man asked. No, this is the museum. They've had several break-ins. Was that you? Naruto asked, slightly disappointed. Conflabbit. I came in here again the 6th time this week. The man shouted, waving his cane around in the air. Oh, excuse my manners, I'm Jihanji, the old blonde man of this town. I use this cane, you see, to find my favorite places, particularly that old brewery next door. The man chuckled to himself. But Jihanji, why do you keep ending up in here? Ino wondered. You see, young miss, the brewery and the museum have the same kind of steps. Also, the 100th visitor of the night is announced by a siren that sounds just like the one earlier, Jihanji explained. But wouldn't you get suspicious if that sound came every time you entered the brewery? Naruto countered his story, not believing much. They must have just put that siren in, because the past week I haven't heard it, less my hearing's going too. Jihanji pretended to look around thoughtfully. But why would you go drinking at 5 in the morning? Naruto squinted in stubborn anger. 5 in the morning? I've been asleep that long? I took a nap at noon, and woke up thinking it was 10 or 11. Is it really that early, Sonny? Jihanji couldn't believe his ears. Hello, Jihanji. Are you the one who's been breaking into my museum? Suddenly the owner popped out from behind the corner of the hallway with a friendly smile on his face. Oh Koma. Haven't seen you since you was a boy, and I still can't see you, Jihanji laughed. Well now, you ninja have done well. I'll have someone escort Jihanji home, and you can leave for your village when you please. I will give you a great review since you did such a good job, Koma said before leaving with Jihanji. When Naruto got back into the room with the statue, he noticed Hinata lying on the ground, clutching her stomach. Hinata, what's wrong? Naruto went to her side in a flash, cradling her in his arms. My street stomach doesn't feel too good, might just be too tired, she whispered. Don't worry, we'll get a nice hotel to stay in, my treat. Our mission is over. Want me to carry you? He asked gingerly, pushing her hair out of her face, noticing she had a fever. Hinata nodded, trying to ask about the intruder. Naruto caught what she was trying to say, noting that she was nearly asleep when he put her on his back. Don't worry, everything is fine, I'll tell you later. It's a funny story really, Naruto chuckled. Hinata smiled and drifted to sleep. Caught red-handed chapter 10 inches are really? So that's what I missed, huh? Hinata was sitting on the hotel bed, staring at Naruto, who had just finished his story about the battle she'd missed. Yeah, wasn't much, but Ino and I sure laughed about it afterwards. But what was the most terrifying for us both was when we found you on the ground. Are you sure you're okay? Naruto inched closer to her, feeling her forehead just like he'd do when he was younger. It was an old joke between the two. Whenever she'd blush, he'd feel her forehead, smiling while asking if she was sick. Except last night, and now he was being serious. Oh, I'm fine. Just a little nauseous from the other night. Probably just an after effect. But we should get back to the village. Lady Tsunade must be waiting, Hinata said, trying to wipe away the skeptical look on Naruto's face. Suddenly he laughed. I just realized something, and I can't believe I never noticed before, he kept laughing. What is it? Hinata asked warily. She looked at him like he may have gone insane. You lost your stutter. You haven't stuttered hardly at all morning. He laughed some more, this time Hinata joined. He was right, after all. Someone knocked on the door, stopping them in mid-laughter. They stared at the door nervously, since they could think of no one that would be on the other side. Hey guys. Let me in. They heard their teammate shout, relaxing since they realized it was just Ino. Might as well get it before she comes in anyway, Naruto said, approaching the door. Soon as he opened the door, Naruto asked her, Hey Ino, you have a key, why didn't you just come on in? We wouldn't have minded. Right, Hinata? He received a nod from the kunoichi, who was now getting out of bed. Oh, don't think I didn't hear you guys last night, man, didn't know you guys were that far. She laughed, sitting in a chair off to the side. What do you mean? All we did was sleep, Naruto told her, confused. Yeah, sleep, with each other that is. Ino thought she caught them red-handed. We what? No we didn't. It must have been someone else, not us, right Hinata? Hinata? Naruto looked to his partner, to see she was frozen in shock. Ino just looked at the two. Sure you didn't? I hope you wore a little something, Naruto. Either way, you guys need to get packed. We're leaving in a few minutes. We have to get to the village. An hour's walk is just ahead of us. Meet you up at the front desk. With that, Ino disappeared out the door. Did we are real Lee? Was all Hinata could say. Naruto looked at her, a little worried and shocked, along with a bunch of other feelings clashing inside him showing through his eyes. Don't worry, she's probably just pulling our legs. Let's go, we have a long walk ahead of us. Do you think you can manage? He asked, taking his mind off of the awkward situation of which he was sure had not happened. After a silent hour of walking, the team finally saw the gates of their beloved village. They all sighed a breath of relief, for as soon as they report to the Hokage, they would have time to relax. I've just gotten the review from Koma, and by the looks of it, you did an excellent job. Good thing too. That mission was worth a lot of money. You all pass. Lady Tsunade congratulated. Yeah. We stay secret. Yes. Naruto shouted. Not if you're so loud. You'll alert the whole village. No. Nation if you keep shouting. Sakura said when she came through the door. Sorry. Just got exited. Anyway, how about you and I go get something to eat? I hear this new restaurant in town has quite a few good reviews, Naruto said, turning to Hinata. Sure. I'm kinda hungry anyway, she replied once they exited the Hokage mansion. All right then, on we go. Naruto said, placing his arm around Hinata's shoulders. Thank you Naruto, that was a great lunch. I need to treat you sometime, Hinata said when they walked out of the restaurant. No need. I'm the boy of this relationship, right? Then treating you is my job, he teased. Right. But, I really think I need to get home. This nauseous feeling hasn't really gone away. Besides, my father is probably waiting for me at home, Hinata said, turning to Naruto, holding his hands. Looking him straight in the eyes, aching for forgiveness, but still knowing she was already forgave. No, your father is waiting for you right here, disappointed in his eldest daughter. Consequences Chapter 11. It had been a month of confinement for the poor Hyuga princess. Her father, in such a furious state, was even madder when he noticed that behind his back, when his daughter thought he wasn't looking, slipped a kiss upon that wretched boy's lips. She was in for it. Soon he would have her a fine boy, more suitable for her, and that boy could settle for someone less, someone more of his ranking. Heishi chuckled at the image he'd set in his mind. His daughter would fall in love with someone in her rank, even if he had to find them for her. Hinata looked out of her bedroom window glumly. Father had forbidden her to see Naruto, and she couldn't leave unless she'd had an escort. To make things worse, her stomach kept on feeling weird since her last mission. It felt like there was pressure being put on it now, and also as though a knot was tied somewhere just below it. For the first few days she dismissed it as just something she ate, or just some stress from being caught. But now, with 4 weeks of something strange gnawing at her stomach made her worry and feel dreadfully confused. Again she tried to dismiss her thoughts, but failed like she had for the past week. There was a knock at her door. Then it slid open, revealing the nervous face of her younger sister Hanabi. Hey sis, there's someone at the door. Look NG for you. He says he's your teammate Kiba. If you want to talk to him, I ask father if you can talk to him, she asked nervously. Oh, sure. Go tell father please. One fresh face is better than none, Hinata replied, trying to sound cheery. But she could tell her sister didn't believe her. All right. You know, Hanabi added before leaving, your stutter has disappeared. So I have been told, Hinata said to herself sadly, sitting on her bed. I should probably get on better clothing than these old things, Hinata thought, looking down at her shabby old pants she used on D-rank missions. So, she got up and searched for a pair of pants that would be best to wear since she didn't want to look like a reek in front of the one person who loved to tease her. Suddenly, she realized that all of her pants, besides the ones she had on, would not fit. Though, she realized, the ones she had were snug, and may soon not fit as well. Oh great, I need to go shopping and get some new pants, she thought. That'll be embarrassing since she needed someone to escort her to buy them. Hinata, I will permit you to talk to this boy, since he is an old friend, but don't think I'm letting up on your punishment. You have lost a great deal of my trust. I'll give you a few minutes with this boy, and then you may come right back up here and wait for dinner. Understood? her father said, startling her when she didn't realize he came in. Yes father, I won't be long, Hinata said, bowing. On second thought, once you finish talking to him, go and train for a little while in the garden. For one, you have probably gotten rusty sitting up here all day and night, plus I would like to see your tekenekes. Would you do that for me? He asked, looking his daughter up and down, noticing she was a little more chubby than normal. I wouldn't dream of doing anything else, father. Hinata still stood in her bow. Good. Now go see what this Kiba wants, her father said, striding out of the room. Soon as he left, Hinata went down the flight of stairs and turned to the right where the front door was, trying to focus on. Looking happy and cheerful. Hey Hinata. Do you want to come with Tammy and I to Ichiraku's? I hear Naruto will be there? Kiba teased, staring at her with a big grin across his face. Soon though, that grin turned to a frown of concern as soon as he saw the look of pain come across Hinata's face. What's wrong? Oh, it's nothing. Just feel bad that I can't go, I guess. Father wants me to show him how well I've gotten at my justice. I can see if I can go next time. Can you let me know ahead of time? She asked, trying to wipe away any pain she's had from the previous comment. Oh, well, see y'all later I guess. Bye, Kiba said, walking away with a glum face. Hinata closed the door, feeling upset that she had to turn down her friend's offers like that. Either way, she shoved that out of her mind, and went upstairs to get prepared for the training session about to come. Hinata gave all the strength she had into that blow to the dummy her father had placed in the center of the pond. To help her water combat, as he'd said. She kept at it, knowing that the previous blow had most likely broken her ankle. But as always, she wouldn't tell her father, for nicks and breaks were all about being a ninja. She wouldn't quit now, not even if the thing gnawing in her gut felt like fire at that very moment. That's good Hinata, you are doing very well. Keep it up. Hinata heard her father's encouragement from behind her. For some reason it sounded morphed. Perhaps it was just because of the speed she was using. But then she started to feel wary, since her sight began to falter. She stopped to rest, still near the dummy in the water. Hinata, what's wrong? Why have you stopped? Her father asked, looking at her with concerned eyes. She usually never stopped this early for a break. Suddenly he saw something that made his heart lurch. Hinata, his eldest daughter, keeled over, clutching her stomach, right into the pond. It was deeper than most, so as soon as she fell, she disappeared under the waves. She would drown if he didn't get there fast enough. Hinata, he shouted, getting to his feet quickly so he could dash over in. Suddenly he saw someone dive into the pond. It was Neji. He realized that his daughter was too far down to see, and his nephew was risking his life to save his cousin. They may both die, Haishi realized with a sickening pain in his chest. He started to shed a few tears when suddenly he had a splash come from right in front of him. It was Neji. And he had Hinata with him. But the look of worry on his nephew's face made him realize something went wrong. Get Hinata to the hospital quick. I think there may be some internal problems. Haishi heard Neji shout, and saw a blur of people come rushing past him. He was in a state of both shock and grief. For, because of him having her train, he could have killed his first daughter. And plus, even if he didn't make her train, she would have died in her room without even seeing her friends. All because he didn't want her to grow up. All because he didn't want her away from him again, whisked away by love. But now, all of those things, all of her happiness, seeing her smile, the look of determination on her face, may never be there again. Because, Hinata, his little baby girl, could be dead. The prophecy unfolds. Chapter 12. Hinata awoke in the hospital, feeling dizzy and numb. She noticed some flowers to her right. A kind of lavender-colored flower was in the center, as if it were the heart of the entire piece. As a small breeze came from the window just behind them, the flower moved as if it were beating. She looked at them, still dazed, until she realized that the flower was not moving, nor was there a breeze, for the window was closed. It was just her vision faltering. She looked to her left, and realized her old sensei, Kurenai, was sitting right beside her. Soon as Kurenai noticed she was awake, she smiled. Hinata tried to smile back, but the strange feeling in her gut was searing worse than ever. Instead she grimaced and clutched her gut, curling into a ball under the sheets. Are you feeling all right, Hinata? You put too much strain on your body. Why did you go out and train with the little one? Kurenai asked, putting her hand gently on Hinata's shoulder. But she didn't know what her sensei meant. What are you talking about? What little one? Hinata asked, looking up at Kurenai with a confused expression. You meant you don't know? Kurenai met her gaze, noticing that her old student knew nothing of what was happening. Hinata just shook her head. I see. I should let the doctors tell you, for I only got a brief description. I guess I'll come to see you later, for I have a few errands to do, Kurenai said, exiting out the door. Suddenly, Hinata heard someone arguing outside her door. It was her father, his voice full of anger and grief. What do you mean she's not so loud? She's sleeping, and really needs rest to heal. Why don't you just go on back to the waiting room and we'll handle the rest, she heard her friend Sakura say. What was going on? Fine. But this isn't over. That little punk will pay. She heard her father stomp away. Then she heard a sigh come from the other side of the door, just before Sakura herself came in. Good, you're awake, she said, taking a seat next to Hinata. But, there's something I need to tell you. Hey, why did you want me here? What's going on? I had a physical last week, Naruto shrieked at Tsunade. Naruto, calm down. It's really important, but you have to calm down and keep quiet. Also, I need you to promise that you will not be too alarmed when I tell you, Tsunade told Naruto gravely. But you must know, it's about Hinata. Lady Tsunade, I need you to come out here for a sec. I need you to take a look at this, Shizune, Tsunade's assistant said, coming in. She glanced at Naruto, in private. As soon as the two women left, Heishi took his chance to slip in and talk to the boy that he despised more than anything in the world at the moment. He hated to do this, but at the same time, it was a good revenge. Hey, boy. I have something to tell you about what the Hokage is about to tell you, Heishi said, pulling up a seat next to Naruto. For they think that since you were with Hinata a month ago, behind my back, they think that you were it. But I must tell you, I have had Hinata pick someone to be her husband, long before she was with you, and she fell for him instantly. So, that guy is it, she cheated. Behind your back, and she told me that she planned this. That was the reason I was angry, that she was toying with people's emotions. It doesn't sound like her, true, but that is all I am authorized by the Hyuga compound to tell you. With that, Heishi got up and left, leaving Naruto clueless. A few minutes after he left, Tsunade came back in. She took her place behind the desk, and put her hands on the table in the way she usually did. Okay Naruto, do you think you are able to take what I am about to say? She asked. Naruto just nodded. Alright. Hinata is. I need you to sit back, Sakura told Hinata, placing an arm on her shoulder. Hinata was like a sister to her when she was with Naruto. Well, according to our charts, and this blood test, you're, pregnant, Sakura said, painfully watching the shock creep across Hinata's face. I also need to tell you that from all of the training you did earlier may have killed your fetus, and also with what happened way back when in the elimination rounds of the Chunin exams, your uterus hadn't really healed all that well. Because of that, you really shouldn't be carrying. So, if this all works out, this little one could be your only child. I really hate to be the one to say it, Sakura said, pulling her friend into a reassuring hug. Suddenly Hinata started to cry. Sakura thought it was of shock and sadness, but she was really crying of both joy and of the realization that this little one of hers could be lost. But she then noticed a smile on Sakura's face, on that made her feel better strangely. Don't worry, I promise that I'll make sure you both are okay. And I will keep that promise, just like Naruto keeps his, she said. Determination in her eyes. But father wouldn't let me have any friends over, Hinata said after a few minutes of thinking. Well, from the damage you've taken, you're gonna be here for a little while. Your ankle was completely shattered, so you won't be able to walk for a long time. You will heal completely, thank God, but you will be wheelchair bound for a while, Sakura said, analyzing the charts next to the bed. There is a question that's bothering me, Hinata said, looking down at her hands. Who is the father? Naruto wandered around in the hospital, not even thinking of where he was going. Everything he thought was so wonderful in the past 6 months was fake, and had completely washed down the drain. He never expected any of this to happen, and he was very, very angry at himself for not seeing through her web of lies. All of a sudden, he noticed he was in an unfamiliar wing. It was one he'd never been in before, One he knew he'd never have any need of being in, the maternity room. It was the place people would go when a baby was born. But Naruto wouldn't have any need to be here, unless his friends decided to have one of their own. You know, I believe that room just across from where we're standing was the one you were born in, 19 years ago, Naruto heard someone say behind him. He turned around, and saw that it was Kakashi, his old sensei. 19? Naruto asked. Well, today is your birthday, right? I assume you've changed another year, like everyone else, Kakashi said, not looking up from the Late's make-out book in his hands. Huh, I suppose you're right. It's a pretty sucky one though, Naruto replied, looking at number 9 on the ward across from him. I guess things happen in life, I suppose. Guess I won't be much help, but you know, talking things out, or just talking to someone can really help. Whoever, or whatever is bugging you, you should really go face it. That's one of the steps of becoming a man, Kakashi said. Oh, by the way, that was a line in this book. I just came across it as I was talking to you, kinda a funny coincidence, don't you think? Can I talk to you? Oh of course, Hinata said to her father, who was looking at her with pained eyes. Look, I think I may have been too hard on you. Because I gave you that training exercise, I could have killed you, he said, holding onto her hand, rubbing the top of it slightly. Father, there was no way we could have known. If anything it was my fault for putting 2 and 2 together, Hinata said, trying to reassure the man who appeared to be on the brink of tears. No, I take much of the blame. I should have let you go with your friends when they came and asked the past month, her father replied. It can't be helped. I'll be healed soon, and then all of this will be over. Hinata tried to smile the best she could. You're right. It will be over. I am sorry to say that the elders of our compound will not authorize this, he said, gaining a befuddled look from YHI's daughter. They will not allow you to have this child. Unmasking Lies Chapter 13. Things couldn't get worse for the new mother, at least that's what she thought. First, she loses the love of her life. Now she's forced to lose someone who just recently found room in her heart. All Hinata could do was lie in the hospital bed, and await the dreaded day when she'd lose someone very special to her, one she'd never meet. The child of Naruto Uzumaki, the man who she'd fallen for. Long ago, back in the Ninja Academy, the one who always believed in her. A couple of times during her stay at the hospital, she'd had a few visitors like Kurenai and Kiba, who came over regularly, and occasionally Shino, when he could get away from all of the missions. Once Choheim and Tammy came by, but they didn't stay too long. Yet the one she really wanted to see, never appeared. That is, until about a week or so into her stay, did he come in. His head was lowered, and his pace extremely slow, but Hinata repressed it and considered that he was tired from a long mission. Naruto. I'm so glad to see you, she greeted him, but Naruto just looked at her dully. Hey, he said, his voice low and emotionless. He sat down in the chair next to the bed. What's wrong? Hinata asked, reaching for his hand, but he pulled it away. Listen, we need to talk, he began, not really caring about the aroma of confusion and the strong tension he was letting off. He didn't give her a chance to reply, and explained what her father told him about a week before, never letting his gaze go away from his feet. Nah. But she couldn't form the words, there was just too much said, and too much more to say. Hey, you know, I don't believe it, but sometimes, doubt can really get me, Naruto said, beginning to look up. It took him a few seconds to realize she was sobbing. Hinata. It's not your fault. Sob. IJSSST can't believe sob my fath there w would say such a thing sob, she exclaimed. So, none of that, ever, happened? Naruto asked, pleading for it not to be true. I would, never do something like that, she replied, beginning to calm down. So, you never cheated, and, well, aren't pregnant? Naruto asked, holding her hand. I never cheated, but, she said. Naruto just looked at her with wide eyes. Sakura was at home, enjoying her day off. It was oddly warm for October, for it was supposed to be cold for another month or so. She decided to have the air conditioning on, to keep the place cool for When Sasuke returned from hanging out with Naruto, she didn't mind that he was gone longer than he'd said he'd be. Naruto needed a friend to help him handle the news from earlier. He was happy, but a bit shocked and feeling bad that it wasn't planned. Hinata was exited too, but by request from the Hyuga elders, Lady Tsunade had to order her to abort it as soon as she was well. That was, on one condition, if she stayed. Sakura. I'm back. Where are you? In here. Sakura called from the living room. She had time to think later. Now she needed to talk to Sasuke, and see how everything went. Lady Tsunade. Are you sure you did the right thing? I'm not sure, Shizune. Couldn't you get around it? I mean, you can tell, Hinata loves it, and it kills her tea. I know. But, I can't do anything, but from the decree of the first Hokage, a female Hyuga must obey every command of the elders until they join another clan, in other words, married off, or they themselves become an elder. Commands can include life or death unless it involves risking the life of the ordered person, and that includes Hinata. The eldest elder has given her that command, and she must obey it. No one is above high, so he cannot be overpowered, not even by me. But, what can we do? Actually, by saying that aloud, I have an idea. I've just found a few loopholes, so the infant should be saved. Darn thing has caused me a ton of paperwork, but, I guess everyone's gonna grow up eventually. Who knew it would be Naruto to mature first, chuckle. So, should I go tell Hinata and Naruto? No, it's late, and I want to cut in the spur of the moment, you know. I just love suspense, and besides they'll thank me even more. If they think I find it last minute, they'll think I'll have been searching ever since I found out about it, and that I desperately searched for it. But, that's our little secret, right, Shizune? Right, Lady Tsunade, our secret. Good night, and I hope you sleep well now that yet again, you've saved another life. Hey, will do, Shizune. Will do. Chatting Chapter 14. Hey Naruto. You visiting Hinata again? Not this time, though I should probably. But right now I need to go see Grandma Tsunade about some missions. I'm trying to save up some money for something I desperately need to do, the maturing blonde ninja said to his friend. Oh, well, I'm sure you'll be doing the right thing. Have you told Iruka-sensei yet? Shikamaru asked. Hey, no, not yet. I think I'm gonna wait till Hinata's out of the hospital. I mean, well, I guess I'm not ready, and I don't know if she wants this out yet. I've asked Sakura to keep quiet about this, and the Hyuga elders probably don't want it out either. I'm not exactly on their favorites list, especially not now, Naruto replied, resting his hands baying his head. Yeah, you know, I'd really hate to be you right now, Shikamaru began. I mean, to start off, you've got an entire clan prepared to kill you, and your kid. Second, you have a girl, quiet, but nonetheless bothersome. Third, you've got a kid on the way, and it's probably gonna wipe all of your energy. Naruto was about to jump to defense, when suddenly Shikamaru added, I'm proud of you, buddy. I could never handle anything like that, and you seem to tackle it like it's nothing, and yet it's gonna affect you for the rest of your life. No matter what happens, something's gonna change. I really think that you can do this, that everything's gonna be fine, and that this is just a tiny hurdle, made to look like a brick wall. Ha 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 ha. Man, that was quite a strange pep talk. How do you know? Naruto said with a strange smile. Shikamaru stopped and turned to him. You aren't too hard to read, Naruto. Everything can be read in some way, even you. What with your cheery attitude, you think you hide the fact that you're scared. And most barely sense it, or fail to realize it's coming from you. Even that smile you were wearing just a moment ago, showed a lot of nervousness. You don't need to hide it, everyone understands. Your friends, your senseis, all of us are scared, they may not know the whole thing, but they are still worried something's wrong. But I think everything will be fine, and I'm sure they feel that this feeling will blow over too. You know, you talk a lot, Shikamaru, but you know, it really helps. I feel a lot better now, and more sure of what's going to happen. Hinata Hyuga says here it's time to have a little checkup. Mind pulling up your shirt so we could have a look at your belly? One of the regular nurses asked. Ah, wonderful. Looks like you're as healthy as you need to be. Your uterus is intact, and the fetus is growing normally, the nurse said, writing something on the clipboard next to the bed. I'll go alert the Hokage that you can start moving about. With that, the nurse left, a smile on her face. Hey, Hinata. I heard the good news. You'll be able to go out for a little while, at least, Sakura said, bursting through the door a few moments after. Why yeah. It's great. It'll be nice to see Konoha's gardens again. Sigh. I just wish the little one could see them, Hinata said glumly, holding the newly formed bulge on her stomach. You know, Lady Tsunade says she's looking really hard to help you. Sakura sat on the bottom of the bed. I'm sure everything will work out just fine. Naruto will be glad to hear that you can leave. Of course, you will still need to stay here until your ankle heals. That's right, I forgot that it was still broken. Then again, you'd think I'd remember what with this big cast on it, Hinata replied, trying to lighten the mood. Hey, yeah. At least we don't have to worry about you taking off like Naruto and bothering the injury. I used to have so many problems with him leaving to go eat at Ichiraku's. Sakura laughed. Hinata giggled back. Speaking of Naruto, where is he? Oh, he's just off on a mission. He'll be back in a few days. I was surprised. It was one of those babysitting missions that he usually complains about, yet he was exited as ever to get it, Sakura said, her expression quite thoughtful. Well, he is going to be taking care of a kid soon, if we ever find a loophole, but still, I think he's just happy to get out of the village. And on missions again, Hinata answered, cocking her head enough to peer at an ominous bird fly by. Yeah, he hasn't had any since that won him, Ino, and you had, God, already 2 months back, Sakura said, also noticing the bird. Hard to believe it's been that long. Well, you know, I think it'll be nice to get out for once, see everybody again. Hinata smiled. She began to rise to her feet, but Sakura lightly pushed her back, receiving a bewildered glance. Well, you aren't able to walk around, since you need to wait until that ankle heals, and it isn't wise to walk around immediately after you've healed. You're required to wait about another week or so until you walk, Sakura said. Then wah. You can leave, but you need to be taken out in a wheelchair and accompanied by someone recommended from the hospital. Which includes me. They both started at the voice coming from the door. They turned to see none other than Ino walking in with a mischievous grin. So, did you get a look at her? Yes, boss. Good, now Ichime Hoshida, I need another favor, yes boss? Could you kill her, to repay my old friend Himaya Hyuga? It's the least I could do to repay her for taking my own son's life. I'm sure she'd really appreciate it, heh. Why yes boss. Maybe you should take her boy too. He's not too far from here, you could get him first. I forgot about what Minato did, but I'm not going to speak of it to a beginner like you, even if you are in my closer circle. Go? Yes, boss. I'm needing my bath. Tihan, prepare it for me, will you? Yes sir, right away sir. Attack Chapter 15. Naruto was flying towards his destination faster than he'd ever run in years. He was glad to be out of the village again, and glad that this was a well-paying mission. The sun was beating golden rays down onto the forest floor in bright, joyful patches. The birds sang in chorus all around him. Yet one bird sang a sort of lament, one that made the forest darken. So, here is the ninja my husband wishes to watch over my son, huh? Who said that? Naruto whipped around to see who was talking. My name is Ichime. My husband, K, ordered for some ninja guy to watch my son, Nitsun, for the day, a dark-haired woman said dully. Oh, you aren't too happy about it. Sorry, I'm just here because I was sent, Naruto apologized. Hey, it's not your fault, you're just doing as you're told. Just as Ichime forgave. Hey, is that a ninja headband on your leg? Naruto asked, taking in this girl's complexion. She had black, flowing hair, the color of a raven's. Her eyes were an icy blue, and her crooked smile showed both menace for enemies and warmth for any friends. Why yeah, I belong to the special sound squad of my village. It's kinda like a clash of skilled warriors who help out the hidden villages of their squad, and get the same kind of headband as the actual ninjas of that village. Kinda stupid really, Ichime muttered. No, that sounds really cool. So, where is this village? I need to watch your son, right? Naruto asked, trying to get on with the mission. Oh, yeah. I have a mission of my own for the sound, and my husband thinks our son can't stay at home. My son is actually at our dojo in the village just up ahead. You could meet him there, and watch him for the rest of the day. She blushed, rubbing her head for not thinking this out thoroughly. Cool. Maybe I can teach him some moves or something, Naruto wondered. Sure, go ahead. Now, I have to get going. Bye. Ichime ran off before he could tell her that she was heading for the leaf, not sound. So, how did you like that stroll in the garden, Hinata? It was really nice. When you didn't interrogate me, Hinata laughed. Ino had been trying to find out every last drop of what had been going on, and kept trying to get more. Hinata did leave out the part of their big problem, but Ino could tell she didn't want to talk about it, and quit after a couple seconds. You know I want to know the dish on everything around here, Ino teased, wheeling Hinata into the main lobby of the hospital. The place was buzzing around more than usual. Ino went up to the front desk. What's wrong? Did someone else get hurt? She asked. Thank God. No, but we're glad you took Hinata out when you did, the woman at the front said. Huh? Why, what happened? Ino wondered. The woman indicated for Ino to come closer. We don't want to alarm any patients, especially her, the nurse nodded to Hinata sitting in the chair, laughing with a little kid with a broken arm. But something was in her room. Wah? Ino gasped, the woman hushing her. When we went into the room, there was a strange black bird ripping at everything. It looked like one of the birds from the Ichime clan, the woman whispered. Then how? I'll be watching after her from my home. I talked to Sasuke, and he said he didn't mind, Ino heard someone say from behind her. Oh. Good morning, Miss Uchiha. The paperwork is all filled out, the woman said. Ino twirled gracefully around to see Sakura smiling at her. Ino smiled back. I'm glad she'll be in safe hands, but won't she wonder? Ino asked. Just leave that to me. So, you're Nisa, huh? It's Nitsun, a dark-haired boy growled back. Naruto wasn't getting along well with this boy. His age was about 11 or 12, the age on would become a ninja. Yet this boy failed his test this year. It reminded Naruto of his own past. Nitsun was angry that his father had given some ninja this task of watching him, even though he could take care of himself. Look, I'm not a little kid, so you don't need to hound over me, he cried. Look, kid, I'm just doing my job. If you don't like it, that's fine, but I need practice. Naruto crouched down to Nitsun's level, squinting. What would a big and bad ninja need training? Natsune countered. For one, you should always train, even if you are a ninja, or even a sannin. Second, I need to practice taking care of kids, Naruto said proudly. Why is that? Nitsun asked coldly. Because I'm gonna be a dad soon, Naruto beamed. The only problem was, the boy didn't look amused. His outfit even completed the I don't care look too. He had a black shirt on, and the black pants with the strips of cloth hanging down off of them. His hair went over his right eye, with a green highlight in the center. The boy was a real emo. Yeah, I bet your world is just perfect right now, Nitsun said dully. Noro rubbed the back of his head. There's a little more to it, but yeah, I guess. HMPH. Emo boy walked away. Wait up! Naruto cried. He ran to catch up with the boy, who ducked into an old abandoned shop. The door closed as soon as he'd entered, and he realized this was a trap. Well, Uzumaki, it's been a while. Thank you for letting me stay here, Sakura. No problem. It's the least I could do, really. I mean, I'm surprised that you have healed well enough to leave for a few days. But I think a little break will do you both some good. Sakura joked. Hinata was staying over for a few nights, and thankfully Sasuke didn't object. He knew everything happening, and didn't want her to get hurt from whatever was in the room that morning. Besides, he said this would make Naruto come over more, and he admitted he missed the guy coming over from time to time. You're right, there is two of us. I just wish I was allowed to go home. I kinda miss everyone, Hinata said. Did you miss me? She heard Naruto's familiar voice from the entrance behind her. The imposter revealed. I have a new program, so some of the things will be changed. I'll change the previous chapters as well. Here is the code. Means that the point of view has changed, means that there's a few minute, hour, days etc. time lapse. This means that this is someone's thoughts. This means Kyuubi is speaking, and this means a shout of either rage or excitement. Chapter 16 Inches Ah. Yes, I remember hearing about you. The Fox Kid of the Hidden Leaf. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Takaku Shizu. I was on your mother's team long ago, a figure in the shadows stated. Be careful, boy. This man has the power to absorb people into his body and use their chakra. A voice within Naruto roared. It has only happened once, but that person was enough to make him extremely powerful. If he gets us, it'll be over, the Kyuubi growled. What do you want with me? Naruto cried, already knowing the answer. It is quite simple, I want your power. The shadow laughed. Well, then quit hiding, and come and get it, Naruto taunted. What are you doing, fool? He'll absorb us completely, the Kyuubi shouted. Don't worry, dumb fox, I have a technique to get him first. Naruto. Hinata cried in joy, happy to see her love. Naruto. I thought you said you'd be back the next morning? Sasuke asked suspiciously. Huh? Oh yeah, about that? The kid was sick, so his mom was home watching him. The mission was aborted, Naruto said, a little more glad than usual. Sasuke noticed. So, you didn't get paid? Sakura asked, oblivious to it all. No, I didn't, he replied. Sasuke kept glaring. I thought you said you needed the money? Yeah, Lady Tsunade said that I was getting another mission tomorrow with the same payment, so it's all cool, Naruto laughed. Suddenly Sasuke attacked him, Sharingan in full. He was preparing Chidori when Sakura jumped in front of him, and pinned him to the ground. What are you doing attacking Naruto like that? She screamed. He struggled to say, that NGH, is Ent Naruto. Immediately after, he heard Hinata scream, and both looked up to see the fake Naruto grab her. Hey! If either of you two move, she's dead, the imposter threatened, a kunai to Hinata's throat. HMPH, but what about me? A dark voice said from behind. Very well, I shall. The figure replied to Naruto's taunt. The figure moved with lightning speed and ended up only a foot away. He was wearing Anbu clothing, except his mask had nothing on it, whereas the Anbu usually had a marking to identify themselves. Good, a voice behind Takaku said. The Naruto in front of him went up in a puff of smoke, and suddenly a fist pierced through his heart, a chakra kunai inside it. Takaku peered behind himself to see Naruto glaring dully at him. Pulsing wind blade technique. Piercing kunai, Naruto whispered as Takaku's body fell to the ground, soaking his feet in blood. He felt the warm blood on his arm, regretting that he had chose to kill the man, despite the fact that he'd seen an Enbu sign stating that they wanted him dead along the road here. Well done, boy. You defeated him without him landing anything on you, Kyuubi said. Naruto gasped as Takaku's body melted away, and an orange-haired woman lay unconscious in his place. Naruto. It's the one Takaku absorbed, quickly, take her back to the leaf and get her to your Hokage, now. One question, Fox. Why are you helping me? Naruto thought. Because I can't do much else, Kyuubi retorted. Now get that woman to your Hokage. Hinata fell softly onto the ground as she saw who she thought was Naruto become encased in a cocoon of sand. A red-haired ninja with dark circles around his eyes and a scar resting on his forehead sat in the window across the room from everyone. Gaara! Sakura cried. It was obvious that she was extremely grateful and relieved that this strange man Hinata had never met had appeared. Huh, I'm surprised you are here, Sasuke said. He glanced up at the imposter who was struggling in the sand's grasp. I'm here on cage business. I'll take this guy to the... Gaara was cut off as the imposter's disguise faded. I'm a girl. A dark-haired woman with ice-blue eyes growled. Everyone just looked at her unamused. So, you say that this girl was posing as Naruto, and was trying to get to Hinata? Yes, Lady Tsunade, Sakura replied. She was doing her best to give a full report of the situation. I see. Gaara, she said, pausing to have his attention. Our meeting will be postponed until tomorrow. As you can see, I have a little matter to take care of. You can roam as you wish until then. Thank you, Lady Hokage, Gaara said, bowing before he left. Shizune. Go and give me a full report on the suspect in custody. Have the Anbu take her to the Yamanaka's special interrogation room, Tsunade ordered. Yes, ma'am. Suddenly someone burst through the door. It was Naruto, back from his mission, carrying an orange-haired woman in his arms. Tsunade immediately recognized her face. All she could utter was a silent, Kushina. Spending time with Kushina. Chapter 17. A few days later. Alright Hinata. Time to get you back to the hospital and get a look at your leg, Sakura announced, rounding a corner of one of the Konoha streets leading to the hospital, wheeling Hinata just in front of her. I hope it'll be better soon. I hear the real Naruto came back a couple days ago, and I want to surprise him, Hinata said gleefully. I'm glad to hear he made it back safely. Naruto's really happy that you can move around now. We might walk into him, though. He's been there visiting someone every day, Sakura replied. Really? Who? Hinata asked, wondering if someone had gotten hurt. But she received her answer when they rolled past Ichiraku's ramen shop and saw Naruto there with a strange orange-haired woman. He had his arm wrapped around her shoulder, and when he had laughed at something that was just out of earshot from Hinata, the woman reached over and kissed him on the cheek. Let's just get to the hospital and get this over with now, Sakura said, seeing pain crawl over her friend's face. Alright. I'll come by and see you later. I have someone else I need to say hi to, Naruto said to the woman in front of him. No problem. I'll see you later then, she replied and went back into her hotel room she was staying in. As soon as the door closed, Naruto turned on his heel to face in the direction of Sasuke and Sakura's home. It was only a few blocks down, so he would be right on time for when he'd promised he'd stop by to see Hinata. He'd asked to see if she could stay with him, but Grandma Tsunade had said that it would be better if she stayed with Sakura for now. Not too long after leaving her doorstep, Naruto arrived at Sasuke's. He knocked on the door and was called inside. Hey guys, I'm back, he shouted joyfully. He looked over to the couch and saw Hinata curled up deep in sleep. Naruto crept over and sat on the other end, awaiting her wake. He didn't have to wait long, for a few minutes later, he saw her eyes slowly open. Hey there, sleepy head. I'm home, Naruto whispered to her, resting his hand on her arm. Hi, she said groggily. She looked up at him with sleepy eyes, and almost needed his support when she pulled herself up next to him. So, how have you been since I was gone? He asked. Good, I guess. Listen, we need to talk, Hinata began. I saw you at Ichiraku's. Huh, you did? Why didn't you say hi? Or were you busy? He wondered. Well, I saw you with that one girl, she finished, looking away. Naruto was very confused, until he realized he hadn't introduced the both. He was thinking of how to present her with the news when Sakura slipped in. She came over and stood right in front of him, demanding answers. You guys, he said as Sasuke snuck in as well. Kushina, she's my mom. It was late at night, and Gaara was walking around the Konoha playground, thinking of his past. He thought he was alone, until he was startled by a strange girl appearing about his age in a purple cloak, sitting on one of the old swings. He was stunned that anyone would be out so late, and decided to find out why they might be. What are you doing out so late? He asked, accidentally surprising her. She looked up, her eyes still a little wide. How can you see me? She asked. Gaara looked at her confused. What do you mean? Of course I can see you. Were you trying to use a camouflage technique? He asked her, trying to make conversation. No, just sitting here. So, how did you die? The strange girl suddenly asked. Now Gaara was concerned. Just what did this girl mean? Never died. What in the world are you talking about? He ventured. Perhaps he could find out more about this person in front of him. Then, how can you see me? She asked again. What are you talking about? He fired back. The girl looked at him dully. You shouldn't be able to see me, because I'm a spirit. Oh, so this is the famous Hinata I've been hearing all about. Kushina said. Naruto, Hinata and her were having dinner together at one of the better restaurants in town to celebrate Kushina's safe return. She had apologized over and over for not watching over Naruto, but he kept on saying that he didn't care, but was just glad she was here now. Hinata had felt really bad for getting jealous of her, but Kushina couldn't blame her. From being absorbed by Takaku, she had been isolated at the age of 25, but was really much older. She had said that he was looking for Naruto, but had decided to take her for the time being. Kushina also said it only felt like a day or so, when really 19 years had passed while she was there. She was sure surprised when Naruto came in to check on her. She had said she thought he was the fourth at first, but recognized him from the whisker tattoos on his cheeks. She had said they were placed there for the fox seal, but weren't really recommended. Naruto's father, they would show people his uniqueness, and be a symbol for him. After the dinner, Naruto had decided to tell her the big news. Mom, there is, one more thing you have missed, he began. There's more? Kushina teased. She was a really energetic kind of person, and liked to joke around. Yeah, I guess. But it's some pretty big news. Naruto winked at Hinata sitting in her wheelchair. They were sitting by a lake, staring at an amazing golden sunset. Well, spit it out. I need to really catch up on things. Kushina was growing impatient. Hinata and I are going to be having a little one, he finally said. What? Really? I have missed much. Do you guys know when? She said. She taking this better than I expected, Hinata thought. In June, I think. But because of some injuries I'd faced prior, it may be later. Congratulations, you too, Kushina said. They hugged the both and had said that she had to get back to the hotel because it was getting late, and Naruto and Hinata had said they needed to go home anyway. The night had turned out perfect for everyone. Gaara, Guardian of the Spirit Girl, Chapter 18 Inches A spirit? Yes. I died over 1,000 years ago, the strange cloaked girl sitting on the swing told Gaara. He just couldn't grasp this correctly. But, you can't be dead. It isn't possible, he whispered back. The girl looked at him with dark purple eyes, the only thing on her face he could see, since under the cowl of the cloak showed nothing but dark shadows. They showed sadness, and a history much worse than his own. She smirked. You must be really stupid. You think it's impossible to die? Gaara looked at her, sympathy slightly ebbing. No, I'm just saying that I shouldn't be able to talk to you if you were dead, he said, deadpan. That's just what I was wondering, since I wasn't allowing people to see me, the girl replied. Now, leave me at peace. But why are you? Gaara tried to say but was silenced by the girl's shout to leave. He decided it would be no use talking to her, for she wouldn't say anything to him. Gaara could tell. He probably wasn't going to ever see her again. Yet just as soon as he turned to leave, he couldn't move his left foot. He tried and tried, but the foot wouldn't budge. He peered down, and saw that his foot had a chain connected to it leading to the girl's foot. Hey, why's this chain on my ankle? Gaara called to the girl. She glanced at his leg and stiffened. He walked over to her, the only direction he could go. What is it? He asked. Oh no, this can't be. The girl shrieked. Gaara was starting to feel shaky about this chain. What is it? He asked again, his hand clutching on of the ropes on the swing, his knuckles turning white. The girl looked up to him, disbelief in her eyes. You are my guardian, she said. Gaara felt a wave of relief wash over him, then confusion. What's a guardian? He asked. They're the one who can decide whether I pass on or not. They can also bring me back to life if they wish, she explained sadly. So like a master, Gaara said, remembering his past, you being the slave. Basically, but, she smiled evilly, I have more advantages. She came up and flicked him on the nose, making the sand around him shift, which made the girl step back a little. Gaara went to grab her by the shoulder as a warning, but his head went right through her. She grinned even more. All right. But I have to get home, I have a meeting tomorrow, he said firmly. I don't take orders, the girl said coolly. Gaara shook his head. That wasn't an order, but I have one. To get some rest before I have my meeting, he said, trying to get her to come with. What are you going to do? Go on some stupid mission? The girl fired cheekily. No, talk to the leader about our ally nations and such, cage to cage, Gaara replied, seeing her eyes widen. No way. An idiot like you made cage? Man, the expectations of the villages has really dropped, the girl teased. Let's just go. You know, you aren't going to be able to sleep at all tonight, because I won't let you, the figure now attached to Gaara said. She was beginning to get on his nerves. Good, he replied. I can't sleep. The girl looked at him confused. Why? Gaara summarized the effects of the shukaku that was inside of him, and part of the reason why those circles around his eyes. She looked at him sadly. I can't sleep either, because I'm dead, she whispered. Why didn't you, pass on? Gaara asked. It isn't important, she said, turning away from him. But it probably is. If we're going to be stuck together for a while, then I think we should get to know each other, he reasoned. Like starting off with our names. I'm Gara. I have no last name. She turned to him, and peered at him from under her hood. She smiled slightly. My name is Mist. I have no last name either. Well, at least we have a start, Mist, Gara replied. He glanced at his clock near his bed that they were sitting on just as it went off. It was time to go to the meeting. Asterisk, not much here, sorry for that, but it was just a little short to introduce one of my friend's OCs. There will be more, and the situations Gara and Mist get into are pretty hilarious. Hinata's past chapter 19. Hinata was sitting under an broad and shady maple tree. Spring was giving way to summer, and the crisp morning air began thickening from the humidity. The lush greens of the trees were of every shade. I'm glad to see you're out and about. A cheery voice sounded off to Hinata's right. She glanced over to see Tenten walking over. She was wearing her casual training outfit and had been exercising the whole morning, by the looks of it. Oh, yeah, I've been out for about a week now. Both of us are doing well, Hinata replied, lightly patting the protruding skin on her stomach. Tenten giggled. That's really good. You should have seen the look on Neji's face when he heard about it. Tenten giggled some more, this time Hinata pitching in, picturing her overprotective cousin's reaction. Yeah, I wish I had seen it, Hinata said. Suddenly, a woman off in the distance shouted Tenten's name. Oh, that's my mom, we're having lunch together, Tenten said, turning to leave. Yeah, I'll see you later, Hinata replied, putting on a fake smile. She wondered when it was that her and her own mother had eaten lunch together. Mama. Good morning, Hinata. Would you like me to have lunch with you again? Hinata remembered her mother's face clearly. She was almost a spitting image of her mother, she'd noticed as she'd grown. Yeah, she had cried, jumping up and down excitedly. This was only a few months before her mother had fallen ill. Hinata's memory abruptly changed. She was sitting in a garden with her mother, the first time she was able to get out of bed since her recent case of illness. She had been cursed with a rare disease called kanghetitis, a disease that devoured the human organs slowly. Her mother had been given some medicine to ease the pain, but there was no cure anyone could find. To this day Hinata hated herself for not grasping the fact that her mother was dying, and she hadn't really noticed. But then she'd remind herself she was only 5. Hinata was cuddling with her mother, staring at the beautiful flowers and wondrous cherry blossom trees. Her mother was smiling, looking at a small cleared space surrounded by lavender flowers. You know, Hinata, there's an old language, one nearly everyone has forgotten. It was a beautiful one, the one that I had gotten your name from, her mother said, glancing down at her. But mommy, my name means sunflower. You said that's what it means in Japanese, Hinata replied. True, but the Japanese language comes from this old one, and your name, Hinata, meant lavender. You see, those were my favorite flowers, that's why those are growing over there. Your father loves sunflowers, which is the new meaning for your name. You see, it was perfect for us both, her mother said. I get it now. Is that why there are sunflowers over there? Hinata asked, pointing to a cleared space next to the lavender one. Yes, that's your father's space, and next to his, is mine. That is where I will rest, when I take my own journey to the afterlife, her mother pulled Hinata into a hug, but that won't happen for a long while. Yet her mother was wrong. And that was the last time Hinata ever saw her mother, for she fell ill later that night. She remembered coming home from her first day of the Ninja Academy, racing to go tell her mother of her wonderful day. Her father was sitting in his studies, and had glanced up to see Hinata going into his wife's room, his face growing grim. Mommy, I had the most wonderful day. You should have seen everyone there, Hinata said, her mother, still and pale, not even turning to look at her. Hinata climbed onto the chair next to her mother's bed, and grabbed her hand. Mommy, why are your hands so cold? Why don't you talk to me? Mommy. Hinata began to cry. She began realizing that her mother had passed away, and she hadn't done anything to help. Hinata, I'm sorry, she heard her father say, but she just pushed him out of the way of the door, not wanting to be around anyone. She left and went to the place known as the training field. She sat there, crying, wondering why this would happen. She heard someone come up, and glanced up to see someone sit down next to her. He had blonde, spiky hair, and deep sea blue eyes. Hi, my name's Naruto Uzumaki. What's wrong? He asked, looking at her. He was in her own class, the one she had seen sitting by himself no matter where he was. and knew that her father didn't want her to be around him. My mommy J just died," Hinata sobbed. "I'm sorry. I can't know how you feel, because I don't have a mommy, but know there's someone you're close to. Your name is Hinata, right?" he asked, seeing her nod. "Well, I'm glad I've met you. Perhaps I'll see you around, and if you want to talk to me, you can whenever you'd like. But what I think you should do now, is remember all the happy things you can about her, and be happy. When you remember them, she was very close to you, and I think she's still with you, but not in real life, you know? I think she's watching over you from somewhere, making sure you're all right." Hinata looked at him, his words touching her, making her feel happy around him. She looked at him, beginning to blush. She tried to ask him to play with her, but she just ended up getting up, and waving goodbye, saying she'd come to play with him soon. Which never happened, because of her shyness. Hinata snapped back into the present, relishing her memory. To think that she'd get the man of her dreams, and a happy and blissful life with him as well. She missed her mother very much, but knew that she would know exactly how her mother felt with her in Hanabi. A feeling that made you feel like a warm brace, shielding the one she loved from a fierce wind. This was how it felt to be a mother. "Hinata," her father's voice came from beside her, making her jump. She looked up at him. He just stared back grimly, just like in her memory. "It's time." Loopholes and resignations. I recently got a comment that Hinata's name means sunny place. It actually has many variations for her name. This is what I had gotten from a site that Hinata, sunflower, or facing the sun. Yes, her name can also mean sunny place, but I am just pointing out that there are many different meanings. Chapter 20. Hinata was waiting in the waiting room with her father. The dreaded day would come, and Tsunade had not found any loopholes to her grandfather's decree. She was going to lose her only child. Her father's face was still composed in a glum expression. His eyes were swollen and red. He must have stayed up all night again working on some paperwork that needed to be done before the end of the month. Hinata herself was trying to fight back the tears, trying not to show any weakness to her father. But it silently gave way. She was thankful that her father was facing the other direction, looking out a large glass window to the left of them both, looking out on the garden she and Ino had gone into in what seemed like ages ago. Suddenly the door opened and she knew she was next. She hadn't even had time to tell Naruto. Her father turned to her, and had choked out, "I'm sorry." Almost as if he couldn't speak. Hinata wondered whether he was sick, and was wondering if she would need to help him. Then, just before the doctor could call out the next name, the door across from him was thrust open, and Hanabi rushed into the room with a smile on her face. Hinata couldn't think of any reason her sister would be happy. She was the one who really liked the idea of Hinata being a mom. Hanabi ran over to her sister and grabbed both of her hands, making Hinata stare at her in bewilderment. Then she cried joyously. She did it. Lady Tsunade found a loophole. Hinata gasped. It was too good to be true. She turned to her father, and he was smiling. Yes, he was. Then Hinata saw something that bewildered her even more. Her father was crying. Was he glad? She wouldn't ask. "Mist, you never told me about your past." "I've told you mine," Gaara had said to the ghost girl walking beside him. She had told him that the guardian and their spirit hate each other. The invisible chain got shorter, but when they start to like each other, the chain got longer. When they first met, the chain was only a few inches apart, but now, the chain was about a foot long. It could go through objects, but just not the cuffs around their legs. That went through everything but their own feet. "Why should you care?" Mist said sadly. Gaara felt a pang of pity hit his heart. Even when he tried to help her, make her see she wasn't alone, she just pushed him away. He knew nothing of her, yet every night he shared all of his past, all of his secrets with her. "Because, I want to get to know you, try to help you," he said, looking at her. "I don't need any help. I don't want to be sent to the next world, and I don't want to be brought back to life. And I especially don't want to be stuck with a guardian," Mist said deadpan, listening to the clanging of the chain as it grew slightly shorter. "Fine, but please, just talk to me tonight, okay?" he asked. "You know you look stupid talking to yourself, right?" she teased. Gaara glanced around to see people staring at him. He blushed, embarrassed, and hurried off to the Hokage's mansion. "So, you know why you're here?" the Hokage asked Gaara. The room they were in was crammed with Anbu, so Mist had to sit on his lap, so that she didn't spook any of the ninjas if she touched them. She had argued with him before anyone was in the room that she'd have to sit on his lap because ghosts would cool a person down and put them into hysteria if they weren't their guardian. She had secretly left out the fact that was by choice, but it didn't really matter to her, she just didn't want to stand where some weirdo was standing. Yes, you want to talk to me about the amount of ninjas I send into and out of your village. I'm sorry if I've sent too many, Gaara said. No, you've sent the right amount. I've decided to resign and I was wondering if you would like to keep the peace with our nations, Tsunade said, keeping a calm and formal face. Suddenly, Mist had the most brilliant plan. She was really small compared to her guardian, so she looked smugly at him, making him glare at her suspiciously, then look back at Tsunade. She again stared cheekily at the Hokage, then looked back at Gaara and threw her hands in the air, leaned slightly back to make herself smaller. Gaara looked down at her curiously. She then randomly shouted, "I want a fire truck, Santa," which of course, only he could hear. He stifled a chuckle, causing him to receive an odd glare from Tsunade. He played it off well by saying after, "Why do you think I would abandon my ally nation when I have so many friends here?" You have a point. So, we will keep the peace treaty with Konoha? Tsunade asked. Of course, Gaara replied. He got up once he was dismissed, and as soon as he left her said to Mist, "You're a funny one, you know." That? She just smirked and looked up at him playfully. You just learned something about me. Now we're even. Mist's past. I'd like to note that there will be a branch off of this for Mist and Gaara, for it will be in crossovers between this and Teen Titans. Mist's past also tends to have Inuyasha in it, but that only comes up in reference or memory. Those of you who don't know the show, I will give brief background stories and other such things for it. Mist and Gaara will still be in this fanfic, but the Titans won't really be shown, and will only be vaguely referred to. I do not feel that I need to put this into crossover for these mere references. The Mist and Gaara breakoff will be posted soon, and will be under the name Titan Mist, Ninja of the Mist. Pardon the pun. According to my friend, the Hidden Mist Village is where America is. Chapter 21. Hinata was giving a light jog, the fastest she could give. Again she thanked the ninja who had healed her ankle, allowing her to be officially out of the hospital. She needed to get to Naruto, needed to tell him of the grand news her sister gave her only moments before. It wasn't long before she spied him sitting on the bench in the village square. She slowed a little, still keeping a brisk pace. He was sitting next to Kushina, which wasn't surprising. He seemed to be spending most of his time between her and Kushina. "Hey Naruto," she cried, gasping from running to meet him. He shot up from his seat, pulling her into a hug, ignoring his mother's amused smirk from behind him. "Why are you breathing so hard? Is something wrong?" he asked nervously, not releasing her from his grasp, but Hinata didn't care. Found a loophole." Hinata breathed, noticing Kushina's confused stare, knowing there was an explanation in order. Really?" Naruto exclaimed, refraining from jumping up and down with her. She wasn't supposed to be doing much physical activities, and that jog had pushed it. Naruto turned to see his mother stand up, appearing really formal. "Ahem, what loophole?" Hinata turned to her, to explain it briefly. "The Hyuga elder had ordered me to abort our child since I'm not married. Our law states that we must follow any order, even assassination, unless it will have death upon the ordered," she said. "But Lady Tsunade said that I was dangerously close to the stage where abortion could be risky, and also for some, especially with my own feelings, would cause the mother to commit suicide. Questionable, yes, but it helped the elder to pull back my orders." "Oh, you haven't married the poor girl you knocked up, boy?" Kushina yelled after a few seconds. Naruto looked at her sheepishly, and turned to whisper something in her ear. Her expression changed, and Hinata knew Naruto had said something right. Hinata turned when she noticed there was someone standing behind her, and saw that it was the ninja that had saved her from the imposter a week or so back. He was a sand ninja, the Kazekage in fact, and Hinata was wondering why he was still here. "Gaara, who's that?" Mist asked as they approached a group of three. The one she was pointing to was the blonde-haired boy, laughing with two girls that were standing beside him. "That's my old friend Naruto, you know, the one I told you saved me from the Akatsuki and was kinda my first friend," Gaara whispered quickly. "And, who are they?" Mist asked, trying to stall him from joining the fray. That indigo-haired girl is the one I saved from that imposter ninja the night I'd met you. She's Naruto's girlfriend. And that person I don't know, Gaara said, closing off their conversation when Naruto's girl turned and saw them. Hi Gaara. She greeted him. She had a warm smile on her face, and she seemed to have finished a decent run. Huh? You? No, Gaara? Naruto asked. Gaara took his chance to make himself seem cooler. She has, while you were away on a mission. But who I don't know is this young miss right here, he said, standing in front of her. The orange-haired ninja smirked, a playful light in her eyes. I'm Naruto's mom. Oh, Gaara said, hot with embarrassment, for he knew he must have sounded as though he was hitting on her. Suddenly he heard Mist whisper in his ear, why, no, I've seen that girl around town while I was wandering, before I met you. I believe her name is Hinata. She pointed to the indigo-haired girl, and she's a lot chubbier since I'd first seen her. He knew she had sounded rude, but it was just because she cared about people's well-being. He knew because there was a soft tone, as if she thought this girl was depressed in some way. She used to kinda walk around all hunched over, like, I think there's something up, she said, confirming his thoughts. She had more to say, but quieted down, for Naruto was starting to speak. Oh, Gaara, guess what? Naruto asked, a smug look on his face. What? Gaara said, trying to sound enthusiastic. He knew that the blonde ninja was going to say there was an all-new ramen size out and that he'd tried to eat 3 bowls, beating someone by the name Choji, who only ate 2. Naruto looked down at the girl named Hinata. Hinata and I are gonna be having a little one possibly in June, he said, throwing Gaara off his guard. Mist then replied guiltily in his ear, that might be why. Wah. Oh, that's wonderful. Do you know what you're having? He asked. Nah, not yet. But why, no, I don't really care what it is, I'll be happy either way, Naruto smirked, hugging Hinata closer. She looked up at him, almost relieved, as though a huge weight had been taken off her shoulder. Gaara guessed all new mothers were worried they couldn't give the father what they wanted. Well, we're gonna go celebrate, would you like to come? Naruto's mom said, pushing between the couple, resting her arms around the both of their necks. She was a good foot or so shorter than Naruto, so he had to bend down for her. No, thank you. I have some business to take care of. I'll come by later if that's okay, Gaara apologized. Sure, no problem, old pal. That'll be just fine, Naruto said, removing his mother's arm so he could move over to have her on his right, arm over her shoulder, and Hinata on his left, their hands intertwined. Thank you. Now, I must be off, Gaara said, leaving the 3 there, Mist following closely behind. What's you important business that you need to get done making you unable to celebrate this occasion? She asked. Gaara muttered out of the corner of his mouth, heading into the guest home he was staying in for the time being, talking to you. Who do you insist on talking about me? Mist asked as they both sat on his bed, the place they tended to talk to one another each night. It was Gaara's only private place in the house. Because, you're kinda like a real friend to me. The kind I can confide my deepest secrets to, Gaara said, looking at his feet. Fine. But, I don't see what difference it makes. There's no point, she stated. I want to know you. I want to help you. He leaned towards her. She was sitting opposite him, towards the foot of the bed. Why would you want to help me? Mist asked coolly. Because, like I just said, you're one of my only true friends. You need to trust me, he said, wishing he could grab her hand to comfort her, to let her know she wasn't alone in anything. Mist sat there, recalling her past. She finally began. I was born 1,000 years ago, in a hut far from my village. I was given my name by my parents, for the gray misty-like eyes I used to have. I grew up learning magecraft and wizardry. I knew much, and could heal almost everything. But there came a day, on my 14th birthday, the townspeople grew angry with me, calling me a witch. But I was a mage, the good form of a witch, a kind of healer. They took large rocks while I was sleeping, and smashed them onto me. At least I had lived to the age most people lived in that time. I roamed around a little, until I met a priestess named Kikyo. She was my guardian before you. Inuyasha coming in here, her and I got along well, so I was really angry when some weirdo guy in a baboon suit killed her. Again I roamed around until 500 years later, I was reborn into a new body. I was somehow renamed Mist, which doesn't happen all that often to spirits. Getting the same name, I mean. Again learned the magic arts, since my new mother was a prodigy at it. I believe her name was Raven. The Teen Titan part begins. My father was apparently named Beast Boy, since he could shift into animals after being bitten by a strange monkey in the wilderness. I don't know how that happened, but it did. I guess his original name was Garfield Logan. He liked his new name better. I remember my family pretty well. There was my mother and father. They loved me very much. Then there was my aunt. According to my father, she was from another planet. I thought he was just joking, since he tended to be such a clown. But then I learned otherwise. When we were attacked by a Rouge party from her world, her name in our language was Starfire. There was also my uncle. His name used to be Victor, but because of some accident, his father had to rebuild most of his body in robotic parts, thus giving him the name. There was my uncle, Robin. No one knew his real name, but we didn't need to. None of us were really related, besides my parents and my older brother Jamie. Robin was the leader of us all. We were a part of a team of what people called superheroes, because of our gifted powers. We all saved our town when there was trouble. We all lived in a tower my family helped build. It was in the shape of a T, because of the group name. The front was made of pure glass, with iron bars separating each room and balancing out the structure. The group of 5, Robin, Cyborg, Mom, Dad, and Starfire all fought crime and evil in our world before me and my brother were born. Which, of course, we happened a few years after the group had formed. I'm just going to say, we weren't exactly planned, and my parents weren't exactly that far in a relationship, and they still aren't, I don't think. I haven't seen them since I died. Anyway, after using a spell I learned about my past life, and such. I told my mother, and she told me it was common when using that spell. I remember looking out the big window of my room, and looking at my hometown. It was named Jump City. It was in a place called America. I used some kind of spell to get into this world. I don't know why, I was just angry and wanted to escape. I had an urge to come here, and I guess I came. I just don't know the reason why. When I had died a second time, I was helping to fight our biggest enemy, a vicious man named Slade. My mother told me to stay back, since I wasn't exactly prepared to fight him. I didn't listen though. I came up from behind him, angry that he had struck down my father. I thought I had him, but he just grabbed me by the arm, dangling me above the city since we were on the roof of a tall skyscraper by my wrist. He said, "It's useless. I knew always where you were." I struggled, crying for my mother and father, who were only a few feet away. But they couldn't move because Slade had pulled out a switchblade, ready to strike me if they tried to save me. Then he boasted, loud enough for my parents to hear, "You and your brother were measly mistakes, things that have no use to the world, a nuisance to your parents. I think I'll do them a favor by getting rid of you." He stabbed me in the gut 5 times. Mist paused, to open her cloak to reveal a tattered miniskirt and blouse. The pulled up the blouse a little ways to show him 5 clearly visible stab marks in her stomach. And then he dropped me from the building, laughing as I fell. I heard my mother cry my name, and then saw my body as it fell towards the ground. I knew that I had died. I watched my mother rush down to catch me, and watched as she realized I was dead. I didn't know what to do, and didn't know what was going on in the fight. All I was paying attention to was my mother, and the pain I felt, not only in my stomach, but in my heart. I knew I screwed up, and I knew my mother was hurting. I decided that before I would leave for good, to this place, I would tell her goodbye. I just don't know if she heard me, Mist finished. Gara felt overwhelming sympathy for her. She had a worse life than him, and had no one left that was close to her. She had that feeling that she should shut everyone away, keep herself away from everyone to make sure she didn't hurt anyone, hurt herself. He felt hot tears forming in his eyes. He suddenly, without thinking, rushed forward to pull her into a hug. But he fell through her. He was still upright, his arms wrapped around nothing, knowing she probably wanted to be alone. Yet suddenly, he felt his arms pull apart from each other slightly, feeling something more solid between them. Then he felt Mist's arms wrap around him, resting her head on his shoulder, and his on hers. He felt cold tears fall on his shoulder, which were never wet, and never stayed, just disappearing, as if they didn't exist. He suddenly heard silent sobs near his ear, sobs of pain, as memory, of sorrow, and also, of relief. Something told him to comfort her, and he followed it. "I'm sorry, I wish I could have helped you," he whispered, choking on his own tears, listening as he heard the chain clinking softly, as it slowly grew longer. A shot-down proposal. Chapter 22. Naruto's day couldn't get any better. For starters, Hinata had told him that she wouldn't be having an abortion, and that he would be a father after all. Second, Grandma Tsunade had come up to him to tell him that she was resigning her post as Hokage, and handing it to him. He would be starting tomorrow. Also, with the money he'd saved up over the past few months, he could afford a wondrous house. It had 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a vast living room that could fit any large family, one of which he knew was coming. He also had a large backyard that was, though bare, still held beauty. His was all grass, but the rest could be put in. Later, Naruto had already had most of his small stuff in his house, like pictures, books, clothes and such. He asked Sasuke and Sai to help him move in some of the larger items, like his bed and dresser, as well as his lounge chair. Sai kept making suggestive comments to Sasuke, which made Naruto laugh. But then Sasuke flung a comment about how Sai seemed to never wear underwear, and Sai just came back saying, "What? I wear a thong?" making Naruto and Sasuke give him a strange glare. Then Sai turned around, releasing the tension in the air by saying, "Joking." The boys laughed. The 3 decided to eat at Ichiraku's, all picking up their girlfriends. Sai had decided to use this as a time to introduce his girl, Rei. Rei was a short-haired blonde, with deep sorest green eyes. She had a small build, giving her an innocent look. But really, she was one of the fiercest Anbu the Leaf had ever seen. Her voice was a trickling river that flowed in early fall, a spirit softly humming in ancient tune, drawing people to feel secure. Naruto couldn't blame him for falling for her. But Naruto had his own girlfriend, someone, he knew, would always be in his life and beyond. She was sitting by his side, a hand lying gently in her lap, and she used the other to gracefully devour her bowl. Naruto slowed, matching her pace, focusing on a serene neatness. After all, he had to eat formally at dinner tonight. He was dining with practically royals. Pissed. "Naruto, wanna bring Hinata over for dinner tonight? We've got plenty." Sakura whispered into his ear. Since she was sitting on his right, she knew he had no food yet in his house. He would need to go shopping tomorrow for that. "Sorry, I have somewhere to go tonight, but maybe Hinata, do you want to come?" Naruto said, not so quietly. "I'd like to what?" Hinata asked, not wanting to be thrown into anything. "Go to Sakura's for dinner," Naruto replied. No thanks, I think I'm gonna eat at home," she replied, guilty for having to stay there only a few weeks ago. That might not be a good idea. Besides, I insist," Sasuke said, knowing what Naruto's plans were. "Well, I guess I could. Father said he had a meeting tonight, and the chefs were going to be off tonight. And I really shouldn't be cooking without them. I'm not exactly the greatest alone," Hinata admitted sheepishly. "Well, it's settled. We'll have you over tonight, and Sai, you can join too, if you wish." Sakura clasped her hands together. No thanks, Rei and I, have plans," Sai said. "Oh, alright then. I guess it's just you, me and Sasuke," Sakura said, turning to Hinata. Oh, that's fine," Hinata replied. Hello sir. I would like to ask of you something important." Naruto ran through his lines quickly and flawlessly. "Naruto. You've done much now. Do you think I would give you anything after what you did to my daughter?" Heishi lectured coolly. "I understand that you must feel angry with me, and that I'm not exactly what you'd call worthy. But, I want to ask of you permission to marry your daughter," Naruto replied. "And why do you think I would allow you to do that?" Heishi tested. "Because, for starters, it's the right thing to do for this coming of events. Also, I love her very much, and I want to share my life with her, and to protect her always." Naruto was beginning to become less formal, but still knew his words were powerful nonetheless. "I do feel you have made some points, but I cannot allow you to marry her. For you see, the Hyuga family has removed her from the family for the time being." Heishi went through his required lines as well. Naruto stared at him in dismay. This couldn't be happening. He could help fight this. "Very well sir, I understand," Naruto said solemnly. "Hiasi, you did well my son. Thank you, father. I understand how you feel. But the Hyuga clan is way too known. If any of our ally clans found out about her, then she could easily be killed." I still don't understand why we had to pull her out of the clan. She won't carry the last name any longer, she will be just another citizen, and our allies won't begrudge her and try to kill her for this accident. Look, I don't exactly care for the boy, but he's going to be the next Hokage, isn't that high enough? Don't forget, he's the fox as well. I just hope some of it didn't go into my great-grandchild. That's what they'll all chastise us for. I understand, father. I understand it's a bit short, but I'm trying to whip by this part because nothing really happens. It's sorta just a prelude to the next problem. Now what's going to go into the boiling pot of plots? Grunt Chapter 23. Naruto was home earlier than he'd thought. Since his permission to propose to Hinata was shot down, Naruto didn't have to eat with her father. Instead, he decided to buy some food to put in his house, since his mother was moving in. Also, since Heishi had stated that Hinata was going to be removed from the Hyuga clan, she might as well stay with him. He would break the news to her after his shopping was done. I really appreciate what you guys are doing for me, but you really don't need to. Hinata thanked Sasuke and Sakura for the meal. Don't worry about it, Sakura replied, trying to ease the girl who was like a sister to her. Yeah, Naruto and I are old pals, it's the least we could do while he goes to get some groceries, Sasuke said, bumping into the coffee table next to the couch. Sasuke, are you sure your vision's okay? Sakura asked, worried. Yeah, sure, it's fine, he said hesitantly. Perhaps you should rest, Hinata offered. That's what we Hyuga do when we overuse the Byakugan. I suppose. I did have a long day today. Sasuke ruefully remembered the day he had watching over the Ninja Academy students for Iruka-sensei. He was having an assessment for the older kids, and that took the whole school day. I saw. Is that what it's going to be like when we have this little one? Hinata asked, starting to think to herself. I'm sure it won't be. There was a lot of kids there, you remember how it was when we were there. Man, what riots the boys would make. Sakura laughed, remembering back when Naruto and many of the other boys would try to skip school, or get into fights. How young and foolish they once were. Oh, please. You girls were just as bad, what with all the rumors and narking. Sasuke retorted. Even though it was mostly Ino and her clique when they were young. She didn't do it much now, but you could occasionally find a scrap or two of gossip that was hers. Yeah, but look at us now, we've all matured sorta and even some of us becoming parents, Sakura concluded. I will admit, I have no clue what to do, and no idea of how my family will treat them, Hinata murmured. Worries clouded her mind and eyes. Everything will be fine. Now, good night. Sasuke kissed Sakura on the cheek, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Gaara was waiting out in the woods. He'd caught word that a band of Rouge ninja were terrorizing passerby. He was trying to track them down, but all morning he'd has no luck. He decided to wait by the road to see if any travelers were coming. If one did pass, he could escort them to the other side, and defeat the Rouges while protecting the traveler and their cargo. Why do we have to wait here? Mist argued, couldn't you just dress up as a traveler, and take them out when they come to attack? I already made a plan, and it's more of my way. Besides, where am I going to find peasant clothing? Gaara rounded, trying to quiet the spirit sitting next to him. Despite the fact that the chain was well over a yard long now, they preferred to sit side by side. Fine. But isn't there anything fun to do? We've been sitting here for hours. Well, here comes your fun. A traveler comes this way, Gaara replied. He stood up, Mist following immediately after. Up walked a burly man in a gray tunic, his feet bare, and brown trousers that looked as though they had been sewn up repeatedly. He had dark gray hair, and a silver beard, his eyes a menacing charcoal. He had an axe in hand, and a traveling bag slung over his shoulder. His muscles were quite round and large, fulfilling his look of annoyance. I been waiting for you, Sandman, the man called in a deep, throaty voice. He stood 3 feet over Gaara, casting a large shadow. Mist felt that he could see her, as he frequently cast a glare in her direction, his dark eyes piercing hers. She had finally decided to cower behind Gaara, taking hold of his hand to feel more protected. There were some things in this world that could harm even a spirit. There was an eerie silence that night, as clouds covered the sky. A lone figure hurried home. They had just reached a door when a light burned in their eyes as the door creaked open. Father! The voice cried happily. Their pale eyes lit up. Hello, daughter. I am sorry, you can't come in, a shadowed man spoke serenely. I don't understand, the figure whispered. For your safety, you have been temporarily removed from the clan, the figure's father replied. What? Hinata said, nearly inaudible. Yes, you must find a place to stay, for the time being. I am unauthorized to speak of anything else, but the fact that if you stay here, you will be in much danger. You are no longer allowed on campus, and if you find a place, then your belongings will be moved there by someone of the clan. You must leave the Hyuga compound immediately. Her father turned and shut the door. I knew you'd come here, a voice started behind her, making her jump. Hinata turned to see Naruto staring at her with hurt eyes. Wah! Naruto, what's going on? Hinata asked, going into his offered hug. They kicked you out for a while, and I'm angry at them for it, and also angry at myself, he muttered. Why be it yourself? Hinata looked up at him. Pure innocence shone in her eyes, a trick she'd learned to use against him. Because, all of this is my fault, I mean, I don't hate all that's happened, I just hate what it's doing to you, and what's gonna happen to the little one, Naruto whispered to her. Naruto, it isn't your fault. Some things are just meant to happen, Hinata reassured. He exhaled a deep sigh, not wanting to get into a fight of any sort. If you say so, come on, let's go. You can stay with me for a while. Gaara found himself in darkness. It was very similar to when he was kidnapped by the Akatsuki. In fact, it was almost exactly like it. He knew that this darkness was of him dying. He couldn't take the large man, despite him being the cage. The man had too many henchmen in the shadows. This was it. He suddenly opened his eyes, and saw his body lying on the ground with people crouching around it. He let his gaze fall to someone in particular, hiding behind a tree, waiting. He walked over to the cloaked girl. Mist, he whispered. I'm right here. I know, he heard her whisper. Slight sobbing came from her. What's wrong? I'm dead, so what? He said, trying to cheer her up, even though he was furious with himself for not being able to take them. Yes, I know, which means you can leave now, that you can pass on if you want. You have all the freedom to get away from me, she cried. No, I won't leave you, never, he whispered back. But you have all of eternity, Mist choked. I'll do what you want me to. If you want me to leave, then so be it, he said, pulling her into a hug, glad that he could now. Could you stay with me, always? She said into his chest. For eternity, he replied. Suddenly they both heard the burly man shout to his men. They crept closer to hear him better. Right men, we successfully taken out the last remains of the Shukaku. T ain't much, but it seems there was a little bit o' it left in, I'll be fine, now, I be sure. June, bring, back. Be just. Haven't oobe, he said. His accent was thick, as if he were from older times. Gaara felt himself be sucked back into his body, back into a more weighted feeling. He awoke groggily. Mornin' kid. Name's Grunt. I be took out Shukaku fair ya. 'Twas only a sliver of him in ya, but still lethal. I be sayin' you'd have had 'nother year or so to live. Now ye got 'nother 50 or 60. Maybe more, the big man said, holding out his hand in a friendly gesture, his cold eyes now warm and friendly. Why did you kill me? Gaara asked, not as fiercely as he'd have liked. Didn't kill ya. Just gave ye oobe, 'tis an out-of-body experience. Just so we could get da Shukaku out of ya. That's our job, see, Grunt said. Yes. We take the spirits of the tailed beasts, and concentrate their spirit and chakra into this crystal, a cloaked man said. And take it to various villages so that they can be contained in a more secure area. That way there aren't any Jinchurikis and lives in danger. Oh, I see. That will come in handy, but what about the thieves in the forest? Gaara asked. We just made that up to lure you here to get the Shukaku. But now we need to search and see where the rest of it is, another man sighed. The Akatsuki got me, Gaara replied. Then we head to their lair, Grunt said. Bye kid, goodbye too, spirit. Grunt said, turning away with his colleges following closely behind. All right, Mist. That was strange, but I think it helped me find out what I need to do, he said, getting up. Get a restraining order on the guy who can see spirits? Mist asked. No. Gaara gave her a stern look. Bring you back. Boy or girl? Well, my computer crashed, again. I lost my old program, and got degraded to Notepad again. I can't guarantee my spelling will be the greatest. Chapter 24. Hinata awoke to a loud crash. She realized quickly that it had come from the kitchen. She creeped silently out of her bed to find out what kitchen was only down the hall, so you only just needed to peek outside the door to have full view of it. Hinata spied Naruto cleaning up something from the floor. It looked like oatmeal, but she wasn't sure. She slipped out of her room, moving gracefully to his side to help. Good morning, Hinata. Did I wake you? Ha asked. She shook her head and knelt to help him. Well, that's good. You needed some sleep anyway. I'm surprised. Kiba kept you late. Well, not really, he hasn't seen you all that much, Naruto laughed. Together, the two had finished cleaning up, and Naruto had gone to do the dishes. Hinata thought back to what had happened last night. Kiba had invited her over for a while, to which Naruto practically begged her to go. He said that she needed to be with her other friends, and that it would be boring staying with him since he had a lot of paperwork to do. When she had arrived though, she had discovered something quite shocking. Kiba's girlfriend Tammy was pregnant as well. Kiba said that they were expecting only a few months after her. Tammy hadn't really said much, but Hinata knew she was still a little nervous about the latter. She had congratulated the two, and had stayed to talk for a while, not even noticing the hours ticking by. Before she knew it, it was only a few minutes after 10. Hinata had apologized for keeping them, but they dismissed it and they all said their goodbyes. Naruto had just finished his paperwork when she had come back, and they both had immediately gone to bed after Hinata shared the good news. Overall, it was a nice night. Hinata had sat down on the couch in the living room, across from the kitchen. It was practically one room, but the kitchen had white tiled floors rather than the tan carpeting that was in nearly every room of the house. There was a large sliding glass door over to the left of the couch, of which Hinata was staring absently through. After a few moments, Naruto joined her, wrapping his arms around her, resting his hands on the protruding bump on her stomach. They both couldn't believe 4 months had gone by since the mission. Naruto and Hinata had done some research on the statue, but they had found completely nothing. It's really beautiful out there, Naruto muttered, staring at the cherry NL Osum tree just outside the patio deck. Yeah, I really love this place, Hinata agreed. It's perfect. It's big, beautiful, and child-safe, Naruto went on, stroking the bulge with his thumb. That's one of the reasons I got this place. It's wonderful. Hinata placed her own hands on his, feeling the warmth of his body all around her. Then there was something that made them both freeze. A light flutter of kicks had started up underneath their fingertips. Then the two relaxed, warm smiles spreading on their faces. Has it ever done that before? Naruto whispered. Hinata shook her head, excitement filling her. This is amazing, Naruto said, slightly louder. Another uproar of kicks started again. Naruto, I think it likes your voice. Hinata giggled. He laughed too, sending yet another spasm of flutters. I think so too. So, now what? He asked. Hinata stood up, walking towards the door. Well, Sakura said to go and see her when the kicks started. She said that by now we should be able to tell what gender it is, she replied, grabbing her shoes. Awesome. But, do you think I could take a shower first? I didn't get one this morning. I really didn't want to wake you. Or Mom. Which, she's still sleeping, Naruto said. No, I'm up. What's going on? Kushina asked, walking into the room. The baby just started kicking. Sakura told me that when that happens, to go see her, Hinata summed it up. That's wonderful. I remember the first time you started too. Kushina turned playfully towards Naruto. You used to keep me up all night. Heh, you can never keep me still, Naruto laughed. You're right, Hinata teased. Every night this week you've wound up stealing the blankets or wrapping you cold feet around my legs. Naruto walked over to her, embracing her in a large hug. He kissed her on the cheek and said he was sorry. Well, I'm really glad to see you here. I was worried there was something wrong. The baby should have started a couple weeks ago, but delay is common, Sakura said, positioning herself next to the ultrasound machine. Hinata had almost learned how to read it, but she wasn't entirely sure. Yeah, I guess I've just got a peculiar case, Hinata said. No, I'm sure everything's normal. You could just be a little behind, but that can happen. Now, let's take a look. Sakura gelled up the mic and pressed it firmly to Hinata's bare stomach. She tensed under the cold and sticky gel. Sorry, I know it's cold, but it won't be so bad anymore, Sakura apologized, homing in on the little figure on the screen. The hospital had gotten the 3D ultrasounds, the ones that were in color and all. The child was small, and had its hand balled into little fists. Its eyes were closed, as if it were sleeping. It didn't have its hide yet, though at 4 months, it should have had at least some. Huh, that's strange. It should be a bit bigger than this. It appears to be at about 4 months along, but it's about the size of a 2-month fetus, Sakura exclaimed. Perhaps it's because your body needed energy to heal itself way back when. It's almost as if those months stunted its growth. So, our baby's okay? Naruto asked, placing a protective arm around Hinata's shoulders and the hand on her belly. Of course. It'll probably be smaller than most is all. Which means she should be about the size you were, Naruto. Must run in the genes, Sakura teased. Oh ha ha. Naruto fired back. It was then that Hinata's wondering got the best of her. Are you able to tell what gender it is? She muttered, almost inaudible because of Naruto and Sakura's bickering. Huh? Of course. It's about that time anyway for that to be distinguished, Sakura said cheerfully, but not before clobbering Naruto on the head to shut him up. Well, I'll be glad to know so we can start getting them some clothes and such. It'll help to be prepared, Naruto said, rubbing his orehead. Yeah, more like brag to everyone. Sakura scolded, once more putting the mic up to Hinata's swollen belly. She began searching around, ignoring Naruto's frantic attempts to get her attention with what he thought was a WTTY comment. She immediately spotted the small fetus, curled up, nestled against its mother. Immediately, the fetus moved, its legs spread wide, as if it understood what she wanted. It was then that Sakura knew what it was. Congratulations, Naruto, Hinata. You both have a small, but gorgeous baby girl on the way, Sakura cried. Wow, Naruto whimpered in awe, we've got a beautiful baby girl coming. I have a daughter. Yeah, I'm sure she'll take on your hair too, Naruto, Sakura said. What's that supposed to mean? Naruto asked smugly. Nothing. Sakura tried to relieve the accusation upon her. It's just that your blonde hair has gone through 2 generations, no doubt she'll have it. True. But I know for a fact she'll have Hinata's eyes. The Byakugan will most definitely be in her, knowing she's got Hyuga blood. And she's stealing it from the most beautiful one. Naruto said, romantically kissing Hinata on the forehead, making her blush slightly. Well, hand on. I took some pictures earlier. They may just have one with her eyes open, Sakura chimed, moving quickly over to the ultrasound's computer, pulling up a menu with many thumbnails. She scrolled through them, searching for one with the child's eyes. Finally, she found one, with the most shocking of all discoveries. Naruto, she whispered. Your daughter doesn't have the Hyuga trademark eyes, she has yours. Naruto and Hinata stared at the enlarged picture, their eyes burning into the dark pools staring sleepily out of their child's eyes. Did the child even have the Byakugan? If she didn't, her grandfather could most surely keep her out, since she wouldn't even have the clan's eyes. She would probably be hated throughout the Hyuga clan for being Naruto's child. Or worse, because she was different, and didn't have the same abilities as the clan. Was this what was going to happen to their precious child, being cast away by people, just for existing? Crashing and burning Chapter 25. After juggling research, giving out missions, as well as orders, Naruto was finally able to get everything done. He decided to relax a little, before Sakura had come in with even more problems he'd have to handle. Leaning back in his chair, feet resting on the table, he thought he could take a small nap. Knowing his luck, that wouldn't happen. As soon as he'd leaned back, his chair had buckled, sending him sprawling onto the floor, hitting his head on the window behind him. He grumbled and stood up, mourning the chair that now only had 2 legs. Nice move, loser, came a familiar voice from behind. Naruto turned around and saw Sasuke strolling in, coming to lean on his desk in a fashion he once did when they were genin. Yeah, we need stronger chairs, or a beanbag one somewhere so we cages can take a rest. Now, that might be nice, Naruto joked around, knowing that that was probably not possible. Sure. Soon as, screech. Bathroom. CHHHHSHHHHH, ooh. What the hell was that? Naruto asked, glancing out of the large windows to see smoke billowing from just outside the city. People were gathering outside in the streets to see what the commotion was about. How should I know? Sasuke asked, even though he knew it was just an outburst of surprise. Naruto turned on the speakers, allowing it to sound a horn for about 30 seconds, alerting the chaotic crowds throughout Konoha. Attention! I would like Medical Squad 8 through 10 to meet me in my office, as well as the top 5 Anbu members. The rest stay in your homes and be on alert. We will find out what that was exactly, and take care of it immediately, Naruto said in the microphone on his desk, so that the whole town could hear. A few minutes later, about 20 people came into the office, one of which was Sakura. He addressed them firmly, stating that whoever was hurt were to be treated immediately, and taken to the hospital for further examination. If it was an attack, all were to fight, but one was to go and alert the town, getting backup and commanding everyone to stay in their homes. He would go as well, to give orders if anything went, dismissed everyone, leaving only a minute or so after them. Naruto turned and saw something that surprised him. Hinata was huddled on the bench next to his room, worry in her eyes. He went over to her, holding her in an embrace. Hinata, why are you here? You should be at home where it's safe, he told her, chin resting on her head, rocking back and forth. I came to see you. When I heard that sound, I was so scared, I decided to wait here, she stuttered, breathing in his scent, eyes closed on his chest. It was a lot like when her father had comforted her when she first heard thunder. Though this had a reason to scare you. I'm sure everything will be fine, just go home, and relax. I'll help sort things out here, okay? Naruto whispered in her ear. Oh okay. Just, don't get hurt, she whimpered. I won't, so long as you don't make me worry. I love you, and don't forget that, Naruto said, feeling in his gut that he might not come back. For the 20th time that day, Naruto replayed the images rolling through his head. A strange metal blob, smoking, melted in